You are going to be supercharged when you are done today with this event. You really are going to hear from some amazing speakers. You are going to hear some great information, and you are really going to learn a lot. So, that being said, everybody needs to have a story, okay? Everybody needs a great story to be able to share. So I want to take a few minutes and just share my story of how I was introduced to Voxx. This happened about a year and a half ago. My phone rang, and it was a buddy of mine from Florida, and he's actually with us in the room here today. His name is Marty. Hey, Marty. And so thank you, Marty. And so my phone rang, and it's Marty, and he goes, hey, I came across this new product out of Canada. I really think you're going to be fascinated. With your marketing mind, you're going to love this. And over the phone, I go, you know what? I'm really happy. I'm really busy. I'm already making plenty of money. I get up at 4:30 every morning. I'm just not looking to add anything else to my life at the moment. And Marty persists and says, you really need to take a look at this. I think you're going to be fascinated. So now I'm more irritated than I am intrigued. So with a rude tone of voice over the phone, I say, well, what is it? And he says, it's a pair of socks. And I swear to you, I just started laughing over the phone. I said, you got to be kidding me. I said, I'm not going to be out talking to people about socks. He said, you really need to take a look at this. So he sent me a video to look at. I watched the video, I called him right back, and I don't even remember exactly which video it was, but I called him back and I said, come on, this is just a magic trick, because it was somebody tipping somebody over and then not being able to tip them over. And he said, no, he said, this is real, this is new, you are going to be fascinated, and with your marketing mind, you're going to know what to do with this. So Marty actually sent me a pair of socks and a pair of insoles. And at the time, we were living in Southern California. And on Sundays, I would take my 93-year-old mother out to lunch. And so I got his package. I drove over. I picked up my mom. We drove to the restaurant. I parked the car. I walk around. I open the door. She gets out. I say, Mom, before we have lunch, I want to do a little experiment. Take off your shoes. Now, picture this. We're in Southern California. It's a busy parking lot on a Sunday. I'm asking a 93-year-old great-grandmother to take off her shoes. She looks at me like I'm the crazy one, but she takes off her shoes. And I go, okay, Mom, stand up straight, arms stiff, make a fist. I'm going to try to tip you over. And of course, very easily, I was able to tip over a 93-year-old great-grandmother. And then I said, step on the insoles. She steps on the insoles, and I think you all know what happened. I could not budge her. Instantly, I knew that there was something special here, because she's not trying to sell me anything. She's not trying to con me. She's just standing there rock solid, and I cannot tip her over. So after I dropped her off, I went online, started looking up Voxx, and I started finding videos. And the one video that really was the most compelling story for me was a video I found of Jay doing a presentation in a small hotel ballroom. And not very many people there. But he was talking, and I instantly knew that he was talking straight from his heart. He was talking about his mom and how she had MS and how he was convinced that he could help figure out how to improve the quality of her life. I just knew I had to meet this guy. I knew in my heart at that very moment that, okay, this is something I want to devote some time to. And a little bit of my history, I've never had a job in my life. I've always just been an idea guy. And fortunately, I've had enough of the good ones that have paid for the stupid ones, but you don't always know which is which in the beginning. And so that week, I hopped on a plane and I flew up to Toronto because I wanted to meet Jay. I wanted to look him in the eye. I wanted to make sure there was a real company there because I really felt I was going to be able to make big things happen, with this product and with this company. And so it takes a whole day to get to Toronto from Southern California. And so I'm in my hotel room, I call Elvis Stojko. And for those of you that are Canadian, I'm sure you know Elvis. Those of you that are American who are Olympic fans, Elvis Stojko is a legend up in Canada. He was the 7-time Canadian men's figure skating champion, 3-time world champion, and Elvis won 2 Olympic medals for Canada. And so Elvis is a good friend of mine. I've known him for about 10 years. And so I call Elvis to invite him and his wife to dinner. And I get his voicemail, but he calls me right back and he says, "Hey, what are you doing in Toronto?" I said, "I'm up here to visit this company. Have you ever heard of them or this product?" And he goes, "No." And I say, "How about dinner tonight?" And he goes, "I wish we could, but we're over in Halifax because the Stars on Ice tour starts tomorrow, and we've been in rehearsals for the past week, so give us a rain check on dinner." So I said, "Absolutely, but give me the address of the hotel you're staying at because I want to send you something." So I overnight him a pair of socks and a pair of insoles. I spent the next day at the office with Jay, and I was blown away with how great the staff was at the office, how great he was, and how kind he was to share so much of his time with me, because I had a lot of questions. And he'll remember when we went out to dinner that night, I said, "Okay, I've only got 73 more questions for you at dinner." That's after having asked even more than that, at the office. But he was very gracious with his time, and it's worked out well for both of us. So what ended up happening is I overnight a pair of socks and a pair of insoles to Elvis. 2 days later, I'm back home having dinner. Phone rings. I see on the caller ID, it's Elvis. I pick up the phone. I go, "What's up?" He goes, "This is crazy." He said, "I'm in my hotel room stretching." He says, "I can touch my fingers to the floor, but I put on your socks, I can touch my palms to the floor." He said, "I'm jumping in the hotel room. I cannot touch the ceiling, but I put on your socks, I can touch the ceiling." He goes, "I don't have a clue how this is doing it, but I don't have any doubt whatsoever this is doing it." So he said, "I'll be skating opening night in the show tomorrow. I'm going to wear the socks. I'll call you after the show." I said, "Great, I can't wait to hear what happens." I hang up the phone. I go back to eating dinner. 10 minutes later, the phone rings. It's Elvis again. I pick up the phone. I go, "What's up?" He goes, "I just spent the last 10 minutes on the phone with my trainer." He said, "My trainer's name is Glenn Doyle. Glenn is one of the top trainers in Canada. Glenn trains NHL hockey stars, CFL football players, Olympic athletes, and Glenn is big into martial arts. He's fascinated by what I've been telling him and asked if there's any way you could please call him tonight." I said, "Sure, give me Glenn's number." Spent the next 20 minutes on the phone with Glenn, who proceeds to tell me he's been training Elvis for 19 years. And of all of his clients, he said Elvis is more in tune with his body than any of them. So I said, "Glenn, give me your address, I'll send you some samples." So I overnight some samples to Glenn. 3 weeks later, the Stars on Ice tour is over. Elvis is back in Toronto. I hop on a plane, I fly back up to Toronto. Elvis comes over to the office. Glenn comes over to the office. Glenn's wife, who's also a professional figure skater, comes over to the office, and we want to do the balance test. And so we're going to cue up this video now of Jay doing the balance test on Elvis. And I just want to give it a little preface here, because normally when most of us do balance tests, at least the way that I always do it, I ask somebody to take off their shoes. Well, Elvis comes walking in already wearing our socks. Like the old American Express commercial, Elvis says, "I don't leave home without them. I wear them every day. I love them." And so Jay tries to tip Elvis while Elvis is wearing his socks. And listen closely, because you will hear Elvis's shoulder pop as Jay tries really, really hard to tip over somebody who is really, really in good shape. So let's go ahead and play the Elvis video.
So, I don't know one sport where you're relying on lateral stability.
Of course, yeah.
To get out of bed, we need lateral stability.
Martial arts especially.
Ready?
No. Whose shoulder was that?
I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I'm warm. I'm good.
Okay.
It always pops.
Okay, then want you face me. Feet together. Fist over fist.
That's the one, yeah.
Okay, so what we've done here is feet together, fist over fist, and chest high. I've isolated the center of gravity, okay? They can't cheat. I'm going to push straight down. I want you to resist up. Do not let me bring your arms down, okay?
Beautiful.
Okay?
Yeah.
Let's take this off.
Okay.
I'm pushing around a world champ. I tried.
Oh,
You're good at now.
Now he's Clark Kent. Ready?
Yeah.
Fist, lock it in.
It's insane.
Dude, put him through the wall at least.
Yeah. Go again?
Ready? I'm not even trying.
Yeah.
No, it's like not. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
Feet together. Fist over fist.
Holy. Wow.
Right?
You got to try this because you figured it out, man. That's
Right?
awesome.
So what happens is, so when we do this before you recommend the product to anybody, because you can't unexperience what just happened to you.
No.
It's become part of your life story, right? You've absorbed it.
Yeah.
You're like, I didn't do anything. You go, yeah, I did. Remember we did the demo? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So where do you want to be? Do you want to be your body on Voxx or your body off Voxx?
Yeah.
What's interesting is with the body, because I know how it is, it knows the feeling of what it felt like.
Yeah.
And it's frustrated. It wants to go there, but it can't.
Right.
It wants to go there.
You
but
want to
it's-
fight it.
Yeah, the body wants to go to that spot, but it can't.
Yeah.
You just physically can't do
Right?
it.
So when we talk about the lingering effect,
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. I may feel fine, like it's not going
Like you
to
said,
calm
but
and everything.
the balance and everything's immediate.
Immediate. So for athletes,
Yeah.
like,
That's key.
think about it. You're an aspiring athlete. You're an elite athlete. You want to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And I just showed you this.
Yeah. You'll be doing that a lot on that weekend, Stan.
Right. That one, definitely.
But I'll swing by every once in a while and help you out.
See, he wears them every single day. He loves them. So it's not a product that you do part-time. And what I tell people about the business, and I actually took this from Jay, you can decide for your Voxx business if you want to do this part-time or if you want to do this full-time. Just don't do it sometime, okay? There are people that need our product, but they don't have a clue that our product even exists. This is a product that can help everybody. Another video I'm going to show you here, this is a good friend who lives down here, and I don't know if she's in the audience yet. Valerie, are you here yet? Okay, so she's not here yet. She'll be here. She'll be speaking this afternoon. Her name is Valerie Green. She's referred to as America's stroke coach. Valerie had a stroke 22 years ago and has really had remarkable recovery from it. But I was here at I think it was a chiropractor show a few months ago, and Valerie came by, and as a result, it was really, really loud, so you're not going to hear any audio on this clip, but you will see that I do exactly the same thing to her that I do when I test anybody. And so let's go ahead and play the Valerie video, please. And so what I always do is, again, take off your shoes, feet shoulder width, stand up straight, try not to tip. And I always ask if your shoulder's okay, because I don't want to hurt anybody's shoulder, because I really try to tip them. And so you'll see how easy it was for me to tip her, and then I'll have her step on the insoles, and if the insoles are way too big, I'll have them scoot up to the front so that we have the pattern hit him in the right place, and now you'll see. And anybody that accuses me of not trying to tip, I am aching at the end of the day because I try very, very hard to tip somebody. So that was her lateral stability, and just like Jay did with Elvis, now I have her put her feet together, fist over fist. I'm going to try to tip her forward. You'll see she loses her balance. I didn't even touch her as yet, but for her it's difficult with her feet together to maintain balance. So very easy for me to tip her. And in this instance, I only did it once for her. And now I'll put the insoles together. And you will see, and just watch the smile on her face when I cannot budge her. And so that was amazing. And so I used to say, that Voxx is a product for anybody with feet, but I did a show about 3 months ago up in Seattle, and a gentleman came walking by my booth, and he was wearing shorts, and I noticed he only had one leg. And so now I say Voxx is a product for everybody. Let's go ahead and play the amputee video, please.
Yeah, so if you want to just go ahead and take off your shoes.
And so for him, I just asked him to take off the one
No,
shoe.
leave the sock on. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, if you want to, and step back a little bit there. Okay, so what we're going to do is
His wife is now shooting this video.
So I want you to stand up straight, arm by your side, make a fist. I'm going to try to tip you over, okay? Try not to tip over. Okay. Want to do one more time? No, that's fine. Oh, did a bumper? Okay, one more time. So just try not to tip. No, put on. Okay, arm stiff, make a fist, try not to tip. Okay.
And now watch the expression on his face when he steps on one insole.
Okay. Same thing. Ready? Try not to tip. And that's with one leg.
And you know what he asked me when we're done? He said, can I get a pair at half price because I only need one?
Have a seat.
And so I sold him a pair at half price, and I gave him an extra pair for free because he was a veteran. But you know what? That's what happens with Voxx, and really it happens with everybody. So it's really all you need to do to have great success, not just financially with this business, because it really is so much bigger than the money. This business is really all about the number of thank yous that you are going to get from people, because you truly are changing the quality of their lives. And it happens just like this. I tell people, we're not changing their diet, we're not changing their lifestyle, we're not changing their medications, we're changing their socks. And as a result of changing their socks, it truly can change their life. And I've been accused over the years of being willing to give people the shirt off of my back. Now they want the socks off of my feet. The moment they see it, they want it, which is another good reason why I try to teach you guys, have inventory. Because the moment you show somebody, two things happen. Number one, you kind of see the wheels turning in their head because they are thinking of all of the people they can help with this product. Number two, they don't want to wait to get the product. They want it right now. So try to maintain some inventory of product so that they can walk away from you with product right then and there. So what I want to do now is I want to introduce everybody to the man who really, this is his baby. This is his vision. He is the guy who came up with this concept. He's the one that lives this and breathes this every single day. And it's as a result of his desire to truly put these on 1 billion people that we're all here today. So please join me in welcoming Jay Dhaliwal, our founder and CEO. Thanks.
Everyone, let's hear it for Stan. This is such an impressive event, and Stan never ceases to amaze me, impress me, surprise me in so many different ways. He does have a marketing mind. But while Stan's up here, Stan, I want to thank you for everything that you do. Your accomplishments are extraordinary. I want to thank Stan. I want to thank his beautiful wife, Denise. Thank you, Denise, for allowing Stan to work with us, because I know who's the boss. Where's Jason? Jason Marks?
He's probably in the back or probably outside helping more people.
Again, working so hard. And the person who brought Stan to us, Marty Miller, how you doing, brother? And Terry's here, and Paul's here, and Kathy's here, and Angela's here, and Amy's here. And then there's so many, and Dr. Ann Meyer's here, and Dr. Mark DeBrinket's here, and Dr. Joe Baldino's here. You guys are in such a treat today. And if I forget somebody's name, please forgive me. There's so many of you. I never envisioned this 8 years ago. This was not part of the plan. The plan was something else. The plan was just help my mom. So Stan, thank you.
Right.
And I'm so glad that everyone's here. And I hope people at home are watching because I think they're in for a treat. So guys, why are we here? Right? We're here because we're living a Voxx life. Right? We all have reasons why we joined. And people say to me, Jay, it's... Why do you do this? Why are you so determined to get so many people involved? Why grow our team? Why do we need a room full of people in Orlando who have come across the country, who have come from different states, from different countries, investing of your time, your energy, you're away from family and friends, you're away from your children, all of those things, there's a reason, right? Because something in you said this was important, that you're part of something that is making a difference and potentially can make a global difference, right? So why grow our team? It's all about the mission, right? Everybody here know what the mission is? Yeah, right? We're going to talk about that, right? How many of you guys in this room were in Toronto this past summer? Oh, wonderful. So this is going to be a little bit of repeat for some of you, and those of you that weren't there, I hope you take some notes, because I think this is really important. So it's all about the mission. It's about the why, it's about the how, and it's about the what. And all of those things are equally important. Not one is more important than the other, right? The mission is our why, and that's critical. How we get there and what we do all have to work together. So the Voxx Life why? Help 1 billion people with a higher quality of life. Today we live in a world where the people that need help are on one end of this rubber band, and the people that can provide help are on the other side of the rubber band, and that rubber band is being stretched further and further and further. The rubber band is the system. It's health care or sick care or whatever you want to call it. And it's at very extreme ends. Okay? And this is what's happened. People that need help because of the system can't afford help. It's expensive, it's inaccessible, it's hard to come by. And the people that want to provide the help, and we have those practitioners in our mission, can't afford to deliver the benefits that they want to help us with. Okay? And it's systemic. It's expensive services, it's expensive products, it's delays, it's a lot of things, but the people that are being impacted the most, the people that need the help, and the people that want to provide the help, it's seemingly out of their hands. Right? So how do you address that? You have to think outside the box. We have to think of solutions which can take stress off of that system. Affordable, accessible products that people that want to deliver help, our practitioners can do it, get it to us. And we, as users of those products, can also participate in helping people, right? That's what makes our mission doable. That's why it's 1 billion people. The other reason it's 1 billion people is it's such a grandiose, audacious goal. It has to be. If we're going to impact health on a global level, it has to be that big. If it was smaller, it wouldn't be a revolution. It would be a movement. If it was 1 million people, I would have started 2 years ago. I said, we're going to get to 1 million people. And about a year into it, it would have been done. Mission over. Now what? Right? And that's why it has to be bigger than one person. It has to be bigger than all of us in this room, because that's what gives it, that's what builds that lighthouse and turns that light on to be so bright that we always know where we're aiming, right? And why help 1 billion? Because billions deserve help. That's the society we live in today. Billions of people need help. Healthcare is broken. We all agree healthcare needs a lot of help. Healthcare is expensive. Healthcare is inaccessible. Designed for infectious diseases. Now think about this, guys. We live in a world where for the most majority of healthcare and the FDA and that entire industry, it designed, the paradigm is around infectious diseases. And I can prove it. Ebola hit the United States about 3-4 years ago, came onto the shores of the United States. Within 4 months, there was a vaccine and an antidote for Ebola. This disease has ravaged countries in Africa. But the minute it hit the United States in 4 months, we said, not so fast, Ebola, we're going to stop you here. You're an infectious disease. We know how to deal with these types of things. We knocked it out. The problem is, the world, we've moved away from infectious diseases and the paradigm has shifted to chronic conditions. Right? So what do we have for that? What do we have for things that are just around for a long time? And it's not about a pill, it's about quality of life, right? It's about that nagging pain, it's about lack of mobility, it's about lack of energy, it's about not living better. So we're living longer, just not better. How many of us know somebody that's living alone, senior citizen? A lot of hands. A lot of hands. You think that was in the plans when they were younger? Not in my plans, I can tell you that. I don't want to live alone. I'm the least happiest when I'm alone. 1.5 billion people are in pain globally. 1.5. 2.5 seniors deserve our concern. They've earned it. If anybody's earned our love and concern, it's our senior citizens. No question about it. 30% of North Americans live alone. 30%. 322 million depressed, either anxiety and addiction. 322 million globally. That's the billion. These are the billions of people we have to help, right? And global sleep crisis. Anybody know somebody that can't sleep? Yeah, it's around. So this is why. People say, why a billion? Because all these people need our help. There is no gray in terms of why we do this, right? So these are our families, these are friends and neighbors. This is us. This is our why. This is the big why, right? And getting there is going to involve a lot of help. It's going to require a lot of members on our team. That's why we need to come together and need to grow our teams and grow organizations and bring people on board, because to do it singularly, to do it individually is not going to happen. So I'll give you some math. If I had a warehouse the size of Orlando Airport full of socks, and I stood at a Times Square and I started handing out socks in New York, and if I gave out a pair of socks, not demonstrate it, not sell it, no trying, just gave them out, one pair of socks a second, it'd take me 11 days to hand out 1 million pairs of socks. It's one a second. It would take me over 33 years to hand out 1 billion. Okay? But there's 2 of us. What happens? It's half. And 10 of us, a tenth the time, 1,000 of us, 1,000. You see what happens? I can't get to 1 billion myself. I probably don't have 33 years left, if I go by statistics. But that's not depressing for me. That just says, you know what, I got a lot to do. And we all have a lot. But if we're into this mission, if we buy into this mission that we're going to do this, we got to bring people on board, right? We got to bring people on board and say, listen, this thing is a big, hairy, audacious goal. People need our help. We're going to go. We're going to go get people to help us do it. And not everybody's going to join. And we got to be okay with that, right? Some people are passionate about different things in life, but they're just spectators. When we go to a football game, There's 50,000 in the stands. There's not 50 on the field. Right? We got to decide. Are we on the field? Or are we in the stands? Or are we at the concession? we got to figure out where we are. All of us have our own desires, our own needs, and we got to get to where we are. We got to recognize it, right? We got to recognize it in ourselves, and we got to recognize it in our teams. But that, in doing that, is how we're doing it, right? So this business, I don't know if you guys have heard me talk on the calls, how we do Voxx, how we've organized this thing is very special because we have something the world needs. We have something the world deserves, right? These are the 4 pillars that we've organized this entire business on. This entire mission has these 4 pillars. We have something the world needs and deserves. We got agreement on that? That we got something that we got to get out to the world, right? Absolutely. We love what to do. We love what we do. I love what I do. Because if you didn't love helping people, you wouldn't stick around. Right? Love what we do. And when you have those things, you have what the world needs, and you love what you do, you have a mission. Right? It's important. But it's not enough. We got to get good at it. We got to commit to self-improvement. This is what this is about. This weekend is about getting good at what we do. Right? Learning, education, training, sharing, motivating, understanding all these different things that are required for us to deliver on what we've committed to. So we got to get good at it. And when we're good at something and we love to do it, that's passion. Right? I love doing things I'm good at. I don't like doing things I'm not good at. So I remember growing up, Dad was like, "You can help me paint the house." I was like, "Dad, I'm no good at painting the house." I like painting the house. I like to paint. I have a passion for paint and drawing and art and those different things, learning, right? So when we're good at it, any golfers out here? Yeah? How many of you need a strong reason to go play golf? Not so much, right? You want to go golf? All right. Everything else all of a sudden and whatever our passion is, right? We just need somebody just to drop a little bit of gold in our ear and we're on board like, "Oh, I love doing that. Let's go." Like, we'll find a reason, right? Because you're good at it and you enjoy it and you love it and so you do it, right? But that's not enough. Those things are important. They're critical, but they're not complete. Because if there's no compensation attached to it, what happens is it runs out of steam. Right? Some people think that you can't talk about helping people and talk about compensation at the same time. That's illogical. Okay? Because if we didn't have an economic system built into this wouldn't be sustainable. So I've been abundantly blessed. I mean, in every way, and I can't even count the ways that good Lord's blessed me. So if I take everything that I own and I go made 10 million pairs of socks, and I handed them out, because it wasn't about the money, because I'm going to be this guy, so I don't talk about money, and I'm not going to charge people for it. What happens when I handle the 10 million socks? Who can I help now? It's done. Mission over. Houston, we have a problem. Jay ran out of socks and money. No business. Right? So we've built an economic system that allows us to sustain our mission. Right? Mission is important. Passion is important. But we have to provide, and this is what we've done. This is how we do it. And we do it with integrity. We do it with honesty. We don't blindside people. We don't come at weird angles. We say, "Listen, this is what we're doing. This is the mission. We need missionaries. There's a compensation plan that rewards you for helping people." Sounds like a great idea. But when you have something you're great at doing and you get paid for it, it's a profession. Professional athletes. Right? They're great. You get paid a ton of money to do it. What's wrong? That's great. But when you get paid for it and the world has it, that's a vacation. That's our doctors. That's our healers. That are people that are delivering something the world needs, and there's a compensation model so they can keep doing it. Right? And what I'll say to you is that you need all four. Without all four of them, we miss on the why, right? Because the how is not aligned. The how has to be completely congruent with the big mission. So we've done this purposely, right? This was designed this way so we don't ever feel that we're compromising our time, our energy, our motivation. That you have permission to talk about all these things, not just two things, not one thing, but all the things. That, hey, we have a mission, we're passionate about this, and there's compensation attached to it because this has to be sustainable, right? And that's Voxx Life. We deliver on this way of doing business, right? How we do business at Voxx Life is aligned with our why. Because if it's not aligned, you get anxiety, right? Because if it wasn't aligned, then you couldn't talk about the compensation side of the organization. You couldn't talk about why this is sustainable, why it's growing, why we're successful. We couldn't do this. We couldn't have this event in Orlando. It wouldn't be doable, right? So the how is completely aligned with our why, and it's important. The what we do, the what's the easy fun. That's the fun part. We got Voxx HPT technology. Now, I never get tired of hearing these stories, ever. Why? Because we know that we help somebody in a way that nothing else could help them. So what do we have in our hand? We have Voxx HPT. It's exclusive and proprietary technology. Now you need to understand this. No one else in the world has this technology. No one. Not a multinational, multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical, not a hospital, not Silicon Valley, not Wall Street, not Main Street. You have it. Exclusively. And it's protected globally. So some smart rip-off con artist can't rip us off. It's protected, bulletproof IP. Right? So we took the time and invested the time, resources, energy to make sure that we could protect all the hard work that's being put into this. Right? It's drug-free. It's non-invasive. It's non-electrical. It's immediate, approaching instant. It's easy to use. It's 24-hour accessibility to it. It's non-reactionary. It's age-safe, pregnancy-safe, and affordable. I don't care. I mean, that's a big list. That's a massive, big list. And there's no other technology or product in the world that has those attributes. Nothing in the world. Some of them have 3 out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Out of the 11, some will have 3, some will have 5, some will have 7. Most of them that get all the way through are unaffordable. Big miss. Right? Affordability is completely aligned with our mission, right? It's got to be how we do business. Well, people say, well, you got to charge more for the products. I'm like, well, then how am I going to get to $1 billion? Because these are facts. If our socks cost $100, we'll never get to $1 billion. Because there isn't 1 billion people in the world that can afford a $100 pair of socks. Okay? That's why the products have to remain affordable. That's because people are like, oh, you just charge more and pay more, and I'm like, well, you're going to lose the advantage you have of having an affordable product. I mean, we're not going to be aligned with the mission. So everything's always about delivering on getting this on 1 billion people. Because once we get toward that and get closer and closer, you're going to see some amazing things. So our what is aligned with our how and our why. So that's alignment. And magical things happen when we align these 3 things. So this is what it means. Alignment of our why with our how, right? So why we're doing it, critical. It's the bullseye. It's focus. It's the lighthouse. It's critical. How we do it is the 4 pillars of Voxx Life, and what we do is what we have. When we have that, it's authenticity. We're authentic. Because when you say it, people have no doubt in their mind that what you're saying is absolutely the truth, because you are speaking the truth. It's real. It's genuine. You can validate it. And you can talk about all those different things, and that's genuine, right? And this is the power of authenticity, right? Little side note on it. So in our brain, there's a little gland there called the amygdala, and it's the world's greatest BS detector. Okay? It just, it is. And it takes in all this information that comes in, right? What we see, what we hear, what we're observing, what we're feeling. And it goes, well, how do I feel about all this information coming in? And if it doesn't like it, yellow lights go up in your head and it goes, warning, don't trust. Go, get out of here. How many of us walked into a situation or met somebody or met to a new place and you didn't want to be there right away? You got the heebie-jeebies and you weren't feeling comfortable and you wanted to leave? No one said anything to you yet, but you don't want to be there. Happens? That's your amygdala saying, get out of here. Sometimes it's just a yellow light. Sometimes it's a big, blaring red light. You're like, I got to go, right? This isn't new. This has developed in us over a very long time. Because there was a long period of time where we didn't live in skyscrapers and cities. We actually lived in jungles, and there was a lot of ferocious animals around, and we were desert and mean meals. So we have to be very aware of our environment, and our perception is in tune. It's still there. We just don't listen to it. Other times, you ever go in a situation or meet somebody for the first time, and you're like completely at peace? You're like, I get it. I'm in. I feel comfortable. I feel safe. Ever happen? What got that was that your amygdala processes, this is the truth. The defenses came down, and now that information is being processed by the neocortex, which processes fact and truth, and it's acting on it. And the only thing that gets past that detector, that filter, is genuineness and authenticity. Otherwise, there's always going to be doubts. People like this, yeah, look, and this is how that doubt is expressed. I got to look into it. Send me some info. Send me a video. I'll call you. Don't call me. I got to talk to my wife. I got to talk to my husband. Blah, 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 something or other. Right? I'm going to ask my doctor. You are a doctor. Who do you got to ask? Because something that was conveyed to them didn't get past that filter. Right? But when we explain the totality of our mission, of our why and our how and our what, you're going to find you get way past that really fast, right? So this is what happens. Authenticity leads to trust, the most important thing in your relationships. Agreed? 100%, right? Trust comes from truth. Trust leads to loyalty. No authenticity, no trust, no loyalty. You can write that one down. You will inspire others when you live this life. When you do it this way, you will inspire others to follow you, to do as you do, because everybody wants to live a life of authenticity, of trust, of loyalty. Everybody wants alignment. Doesn't matter what you do, whether you do this or anything else. You find that alignment, you're gold. You become a true leader. And you become unstoppable on your mission, whatever that is. Right? But it takes work. So this is not easy for all of us. I mean, to do these things, it's not easy. It's continual self-improvement. It's about personal development. It's about always finding ourselves, hey, where am I on this? Am I aligned? Is my truth aligned? Is my what and my how and my why aligned? Because if it's not aligned, you're going to find these things that detract you or distract you or pull you in ways that perhaps you don't want to go. So what it takes, it's time for checkup, right? So how do we know that we're aligned? How do we know that what I'm doing is completely aligned with what needs to happen for me to get where I want to get to, right? So there's a checkup, quick little checkup. We have to apply to ourselves first. As leaders, we've got to apply to ourselves, and then we got to say, okay, I went for my tune-up, I got my checkup, now I got to check my team. My front line, my starting five. What are they all about? And you got to apply the same checkup. You got to put them through the same paces, okay? First thing, positive mental attitude. Do I have it? Because if you don't got it, you got to work on it. Coachability. These are critical steps. And you need a why. You need your why. Not my why. My why I know. But you got to have your why, whatever it is. And we're going to get into that. People throw that thing around, oh, you need a why. How do you find your why? Why not? We're going to get to the why. You got to need a why. You got to know what it is. And then you got to do another check. And once you got that sorted out, then you got to figure out, am I going to do this sometime? Part-time? Or am I going to do this full-time? And I'm going to say some really tough things right now. If you're going to do this sometime, stop wasting your time and that of others. Because when somebody decides to do this sometime, that means they're not reliable. Sometimes the bus comes, sometimes the bus doesn't. Could you imagine that? I got a flight. Well, sometimes it flies and sometimes it doesn't. I have a leader. Sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't. We all have sometime players in our business, in our organization. They're there because we didn't do a check before we brought them on board. Right? Sometime players will take up all of your time because you're trying to make up their sometime with your full time. And that math never adds up. Right? Then it's part-time. All right, we're cooking. Great. This is consistency. Now quantify it. Is it hours or days? For yourself. So before we start applying this to our team, we got to say, okay, where am I? Am I going to do this part-time? Fantastic. How much am I going to put into it? How many hours? How many days? What's part-time? When I was growing up, part-time was 20 hours a week. That's just how I grew up. It was a part-time job. You worked a full-time job, then you worked a part-time job, another 4 hours. Times have changed, I understand. Part-time is not that much anymore. Part-time is less. Whatever it is. And everyone is different. But you have to decide what it is, and you have to commit. First, us. Okay, us as leaders. You're here, you're aspiring to do great things. You're here. You wouldn't come here all this way, invest your time, resources, and energy if you didn't believe, and if you didn't want to do more, and be more, and get more, right? But you got to have a plan. You got to say, okay, I'm going to do this part-time. Great. Write it down. How much time? Because then you're going to see what that time is generating for you. But it's critical. Quantify it. And if you're full-time, all right. This is a commitment to your family, to yourself, and your team. We have people in here full-time. Didn't start right out of the gate full-time. They started out, guaranteed, they started out part-time, because sometime never gets there. And then they came to a place where they said, listen, I got to make a decision now. And they decided that I'm going to go full-time, and full-time got them where they need to get to, right? So I ask you, and I challenge all of everybody in this room, before you go home this weekend, you need to decide, where am I? Self-assessment, where's my positive mental attitude? Am I coachable? What's my why? And we're going to get to our why. And then how much am I going to commit of myself to realizing these things? Right? So positive mental attitude. We hear that a lot. How many of you, how much everybody? We've all read books on positive mental attitude? Hands up. Right? It's not new. It's been around a long time. Long time. I think, therefore I am. That was written a couple hundred years ago, maybe 400 or 500 years ago. You are what you think. All those things, right? But living it is a different thing. Living it is more personal. So you got to separate. So positive mental attitude is all about separating fact from fiction, right? Because fiction is not real. We got to identify positive. So in life, it's challenges, right? See that little red balloon is pushing the dark clouds out of the way? That's all about identifying and finding that silver lining, right? Cultivate an attitude of gratitude. If there's anything you take away from me today, it's this point. Living a life of gratitude. If each one of us took out a notepad right now and just wrote down the things that we're grateful for, really thought about the things that we've been blessed with in our lives, I bet you wouldn't have enough paper. Right? if we think about it and we feel it and we express it, there's a lot to be grateful for. But we got to recognize that every day. You got to make it a habit, right? And you got to remove negativity proactively. Okay? So if there's a cloud coming your way, you got to get the super fan, blow it out of the way, or you got to remove yourself from that situation. If it's raining where you're standing, leave. No need to get pneumonia. Move. Right? We have that choice. We decide what we want to do. So what is that? So PMA, positive mental attitude, fact or fiction. Separate the facts from a fiction. When we have a negative thought in our head, we have to say, is that real? Is that real? Or is this just something that's in my head that my brain is creating something? Right? Thoughts are not facts. Okay? Just because it's in my head, because my brain is creating this thought, this little ethereal thing called a thought, doesn't mean it's real. And these things are usually coached in things like always and never and worst. Oh, these things never work out for me. Oh. Not a fact, guaranteed. Guaranteed it's not a fact, just a thought, right? We got to recognize that it's probably not true. It's not empirically true. Write it down. Write down it as what that thing is in your head. Write it down and say, okay, what is this? Apply critical thinking. Do things always never work out for me? Write that down and say, is this fact? Has something never ever worked out for me, or was it circumstantial? Or what about all the other things that do work out for me and did it work out for me and all the things that I should be grateful for? All of a sudden, we realize that this is just our brain playing tricks on us. We're going to talk about that, what it's doing to us. So fact or thought. Identify and label thoughts as thoughts, not facts. Escape negative cycles and move toward a positive outlook. Meaning, if we're in a situation where we've had a rough day or a tough argument or a tough conversation, or perhaps our team isn't performing and we're getting all these always, never, worst thoughts in our head, let's be critical and say, hey, are those thoughts being just created in my head by my subconscious because of other issues? Or are these actual facts? And what you'll find is they're just thoughts. They're not real. Find the positive. Identify a positive. Guaranteed, we don't spend enough time doing this. We all have to do this, right? But it takes practice, a lot of practice, especially if we don't live in a positive mental attitude. And I'm not saying that everyone doesn't live there. I'm saying if we find ourselves defaulting to that. How many of us know people, whenever you meet them, the first words out of their mouth are complain about something? Okay? I have people that call me, I look at the phone, and I go, man, I talked to this person. How you doing? Because I know this person is so uplifting, they're so positive, they always have great news, they're going to share. And there's other people that when the phone rings, you look at it and you're like, we got those people on our phone? They call you? I call them crisis centers. Right? You're like, I was having such a good day. I don't want to talk to Michael right now. I want to talk to Michael right now because Michael is. Because let's practice. We're going to get to that, but we look at a day, a week, and find the positive thing, a person, a place, a meeting. If you met a positive person, recognize, you know what? I met Marty this week. Marty's, I felt great. Marty's got his energy. I feel fantastic. I came to Orlando. They were talking about all this terrible weather and some terrible devastation that's happened not too far from here. But when I got here, Orlando looked great. It's such a beautiful hotel, amazing people. There's a positivity to that. And the meeting, what's more positive than this meeting? I mean, if you wanted to anchor yourself to something for this week, you can't ask for a better example than this. Amazing people, positive people, great meeting, great location. Build on it. Use that, anchor that. So when somebody's giving you a in your head, recall this meeting, recall this day, and say, listen, I was with 200, 300 people, and we were talking about this. And that's what I'm going to focus on. And we move forward. So look back on events in life. We all got great positive events in our life. which have moved us forward in past challenges and past difficult situations and past tough relationships, right? But we don't pay time, because in that moment, we got the thoughts, the fake thoughts, that fairy tale that's happening in our head that it's not right, but it's not true. But look forward to new opportunities and events, right? A positive attitude is a lighthouse, and we're always aimed toward it. And if we know what it is, we'll get there, right? Gratitude. A big part of positive mental attitude is gratitude. Being grateful for what we have. And you got to cultivate it, and you got to practice it, and you got to do it daily. Got to do it daily. Right? Because if you don't, this anchors your positive attitude. Take it from me. If you take anything away from today, take this. Practice gratitude every day. And you're going to find your list gets bigger and bigger and wider and grander, and people are going to notice in you. Because you're going to express that gratitude. And when little hiccups come along the road, you'll be like, it's all right. I'm so grateful for all of this other stuff over here. That's who you are. Take the time. Take the time to express it. Right? It's you time. Most important time of the day is you time, when you're taking care of you. Because until you take care of you, you can't take care of anybody else. Right? It's so important. And it becomes a habit. I didn't make this up. This has just been around a long, long time. We've got to practice it, though. My job is to share what I know with you and say, listen, this works for me. This is how I live. And it helps me overcome challenges. It helps me overcome difficult situations. All those tribulations in what life is. And they just become non-issues. They just keep going, right? The universe will respond. Put positive energy out there, positive energy comes back. It's just what it is, right? But it does respond. And you will see the people in your life change, right? You will attract what you put out there. They will come, those positive, reinforcing, grateful people will come in your life, and the other ones that are not, the dark side I call it, they will go away, right? The energy vampires will disappear. It happens. The universe does it for you. You'll be surprised by what you realize. You'll be surprised by how enlightened your life is, just by living a life of gratitude. So, the other great thing is physiological health benefits. Proven. You reduce stress cortisol by 23% when you start practicing gratitude. Right? That cortisol, death hormone, that thing just corrodes us, ruins us. Right? So let's reduce that. And how we react with people, they're going to feel it. They're going to feel your energy. They're going to feel all those things. And it increases happiness. More grateful we are, the happier we are. Sounds like a good. You know what it costs? It costs time. It costs time. Your time to sit, focus inward, and say, hey, thank you. However you express it is up to you. Be grateful for what we have, right? You got so much to be grateful for. Reduces fear and depression. Grateful people are never afraid. What's there to be afraid of? Right? And when we start doing this, when we start living this way, our positive mental attitude becomes anchored as a way of life, our way of being. And that's the key, right? So the fear of rejection. So PMA, all those fearful things that come in our head, it's just a fear of rejection, but it's illogical. This is what fear sounds like, okay, guys? Tell me if this rings true. This is what fear sounds like. That's just corroding our positive mental attitude. I'll look foolish by talking about these socks. People think I'm stupid or greedy or both. Right? I've approached people before with other ideas and they didn't work. Hear that a lot, right? Just thoughts. These are thoughts that our brain is putting in our consciousness. I don't know if it'll work. I don't know anyone. I don't know science. I don't know how to sell. I'll get a return. We have people in our organization that don't call people that bought the product because they're afraid they'll want to return it. I'm like, what do you care? It's a 30-day money-back guarantee. I hold the risk. Find out if they're happy. But no. They don't want to hear the bad news, right? They don't want to call and find out. What if Peter doesn't like anything? What if he says he wants to give them back? I'm like, so you'd rather have them unhappy? Call them. Find out. But these are just thoughts. It's illogical. Shipping is slow. Just a fear. It's illogical. My team doesn't listen. Fear. The color is wrong. These are all things that are made up. None of these are facts. Not one of these things is a fact. They're just thoughts. Make believe, fairy tales. It's out of stock. No, we're never out of stock. There's always something in stock. Make believe. So this is what's really happening. So once you understand this, you'll be able to put those thoughts in a box and lock them out. So this is your brain trying to save you from being uncomfortable, because what your brain wants to be, your consciousness, your mind wants to be comfortable. Wants to be safe. Doesn't like change. Doesn't like anxiety. Doesn't like anything disrupting where it is. Leave me alone. She goes, oh, you want to do something? I don't know about that. Let's give you a reason not to change. So it's creating thoughts that are fiction. So as soon as you give into these thoughts, your brain releases chemicals that make you feel better, okay? So this is the wicked paradigm of how this thing works. These chemicals that your brain releases to make you feel better, they're very addictive. Very, very addictive. And your brain craves them. So you put yourself in a situation, you subconsciously put yourself in situations where you'll put yourself into this mode of where you're going to release these things. So this is what happens. This is a cycle that's developed over years. So you'll sell product, put yourself in a high anxiety standpoint of where you don't want to call somebody, and you'll justify by saying, well, Terry's going to return it anyways, that's why I'm not going to call them. And as soon as you buy into that I don't need to call Terry because Terry's going to return them, your brain releases all these chemicals and you feel better because you gave yourself a reason for not to being uncomfortable anymore. First you made yourself uncomfortable. This is clinical. It's madness. Made yourself uncomfortable so your subconscious could give you a reason to become comfortable so you get some of those drugs to make you feel better. Why do you think people are always jumping from one opportunity to another opportunity? And never getting anywhere. Because it's this loop. Make myself scared, and then get my little release, get out of jail free card, and I feel better. And do it over and over and over and over. And it's like, it's a trap. Because you gave in your brain's, it's devious, this mind of ours. Right? So what happens is, you subconsciously make yourself uncomfortable, then your brain gives you thoughts to let yourself off the hook and get a hit of the relief chemicals, right? So what this means is your own pusher and your own user. Now there's a trip for a Saturday morning. But this is happening. This is happening. When you give into these thoughts, this fear, these nonsense thoughts, this is what is clinically happening in your head. Know this. I didn't make this up. This is clinical. Because all those things, what fear sounds like, those are all thoughts. Those are not facts. But that's what it sounds like. Right? So replace those thoughts with these facts. Facts. Your why. Your why is your most powerful fact. It's your why. No one can change it. It's your truth. Our why, the big why. Don't have to be the same thing. We're going to get into that. Your own testimonial. Now we're going to get back to the good stuff. It's a fact. You cannot unexperience what you've experienced. right? This is why your testimonials are so important. It's the truth, authentic, trust, loyalty, all comes from this. How many you've helped? Those are facts. So if you've helped 1,000 people already, and this person you meet, well, I didn't do anything for me, that's not your truth. That's not fact. Because we know we know to the contrary. You have evidence to the contrary, right? So we can't get wrapped up in that. Success to date, yours and the team's. Almost 2.5 million people helped. 2.5 million people helped. That's more than the population of Orlando. That puts it in perspective, doesn't it? What? Yeah, more than the population of Orlando. That's a lot of people. You did this. I didn't do this. You did this. Your teams did this. Your commitment did this. That's a fact. Fact. These are facts. Those are nonsense, fairy tales. Those things over there, they're not real. These are real. Globally protected IP. Somebody goes, I go, listen, I got facts on my side. This thing's real. It's protected. It's solid. Tech and products work. We know this. Independently verified and studied. Affordable and easy to use. 40 billion global market for socks and insoles. Products are right for everyone. 2 million people helped. Team is over 15,000. 40,000 testimonials. Whenever these things enter anyone's head, your team's head, say, listen, your brain's playing tricks on you. Those are not facts. These are the facts. Does this make sense? If you're hearing this from anybody in your team, we got to go back to positive mental attitude. You got to check. Got to check for coachability. We got to check for their why. And you say, listen, your brain's playing games on you. Those aren't facts. These are the facts. Right? But before we apply to our team, got to apply to us. Otherwise, we're going to miss out. Right? Because our team will only do what you do as leaders. Maybe 50% of what you do. You cannot expect your team to do more. We're not built that way. Okay? So what does that mean? No competition, no risk, all facts. Then there's the dark side. Okay? Proactively remove the dark side from your life. Signs of the Sith, I mean negative people. Listen. It is not your responsibility to make negative people positive people. But you never heard that one before. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. They are responsible for their positive mental attitude. Now you have to identify it in yourself, and you got to work on you, and you got to identify in your team and show them that they got to work on them. But I know that I'm 48 years old. In my life, I've never been able to make a negative person into a positive person. Okay? A negative person, I talked this about on the call, I don't know if you guys heard it. So a negative person is somebody that's drowning in the ocean. You throw them a life preserver. You're like, come on, grab the life preserver. And they'll swim away. But I don't know about your life preserver. And they're going to swim away from your life preserver. Okay? You're like, hey, dummy, throw another life preserver. Even further. And they swim even further away. They're determined to drown. And if they do hang on to that life preserver and they're determined to drown and you don't let go of that rope, you're going with them. Negativity is that powerful. Positive attitude is powerful. Negative is also powerful. It will drag you down. It will, if you let it, you're gone. You'll be gone like that. Your attitude will be gone. Your coachability will be gone. Your why will be gone. It'll be gone. Like, what happened? This person used to be so amazing, and then this other person came in the organization, and now they're nothing. They're not doing anything. They're not helping anybody. They're negative. They're always negative. Why? They always worry. So write these down. You're going to need this because you have to, first of all, you have to apply it to yourself. Before we say, oh, this is this person, we have to check ourselves. Negative people, there's some negativity there. Always worry. Always tell you what to do. Always. That's not going to work. This is how you do it. To live in default position. What does that mean? Always waiting for the worst to happen. Their alarm is always on. They're always waiting for the shoe to drop. They're always waiting for the alarm bell to go off. Enjoy secrecy. Pessimists cannot limit their exposure to bad news. That's the person that calls me. I have somebody in my life. My friends and I will recognize this person for the negativity. Doesn't mean you don't love them, but you just got to manage yourself. So we've given this person a nickname called Mush. Okay? Because Mush will put a jinx on whatever thing you're working on. Mush calls you, forget about your day for that day. It's done. So we don't answer the phone. Why? It's like, and then all of a sudden the bat signal goes up. Mush called. Mush got to share the bad news. And I don't want to hear it. Right? It's up to us what we let into our world. Very thin skin, easily offended. Complain a lot, professional complainers. I know some of them. Never move outside the comfort zone. They love the word but. Underachievers. I've worked at Fortune 500, some of the biggest companies in Silicon Valley for a long time in my life. I've never met a negative person overachieve. Ever. 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 Did I say ever? Because it's not aligned. Overachievement is not part of the DNA. It's not part of the mental psyche. It's the other bit. Oh, this will never work. Somebody says this will never work has never made it work. It's not aligned. It's not congruent. They never get excited about future projects. Met those people? Are you sure about that? I don't see it. I don't get it. All right, thanks. Become energy vampires. Just stick those electrodes in your heart and your brain. And then you're like walking around 50%. Miss out on the good things in life. And that's the tragedy of this whole thing. They miss out on all the abundance that we're blessed with. All the happiness that's been promised to us. Just don't do it. Put a negative spin on good news. Right? But these things we have to recognize. Because once you recognize it, you got to be aware, right? You got to be aware of what's in your periphery. You got to be careful, right? Once identified, you need to remove or eliminate interaction with this individual, right? So if somebody is not your family, you can actually remove them from interacting with them. When they're your family, you cannot remove your family, okay? You can't. Well, I'll stand up here and say that to you. But you can limit your interaction. So if Aunt Betty's a downer, just, limit how much time Aunt Betty gets with you. I'm offended if anybody has an Aunt Betty that's negative. It's just an example. Because if you don't, your positive mental attitude, your coachability, and your why is at risk. I've seen it happen with my own eyes in this business already. A negative person got into an organization. All of these things were manifested, some more, some less, but in some way. And the people that were great people, leaders in an organization, their positive attitude, their coachability, and their why was at risk. So I removed this person from the organization. Right? I have no choice. Have no choice. Right? You got to keep it healthy. If we go through that checklist and say, that's not working, got to deal with this, right? And I will. Right? Because I'm also checking myself and I'm checking my team. My leadership team is who I'm going to assess and say, listen, are you on board with this? Are you living this way? Are you working this way? Because if you're not, we've got to figure out why, because that's how we improve. Right? Coachability, humility, honesty, and curiosity. Humble student. Mr. Miyagi had it right. Mr. Miyagi, why do I got to put this wax on, wax off? Daniel-san, just do it. Sometimes you got to listen to the coach. How many of us ever played on a team? In high school, college, whatever. How much playtime you get if you don't listen to the coach? Zippo. Like, coach, I'm going to run this play. You'd be like, no. Come here, Junior. You do what I say. Right? Coachability. Follow instructions. Ourselves first. Am I following the roadmap that's been laid out for me, that's been tested, proven, that works? Ask for feedback. How'd I do? Is this the right way? Can I improve? Be a good listener. Admit mistakes and correct them. And find a mentor. Okay? So I'll say this to you, and I'll speak to all the leaders and the aspiring leaders in this room. If we have a playbook, it's like a recipe. Mama's secret recipe for the best apple pie ever made. But it's a recipe for how to have a successful Voxx life and living a Voxx life. We say, hey, do this way. This is the playbook. These are the instructions. These are the audibles. This is how we do this. And we, me, you, ourselves, our teams, don't do it that way, and they want to do it a different way, and they're not successful. Who's responsible for that? Right? Does this person then get to say that this is not working? Well, the cake tastes bad. The pie doesn't taste right. Well, did you follow the recipe? No. Can't do that. Can't do that. We don't have, but we have to recognize that, right? Are we following the plan? Are we doing what's asked of us? Saying, hey, this works. We have a program of how to get the product on people's feet. You track them to social media, and Paul's going to talk about that. And then you have sock and sew parties where you get the product on their feet and you have a follow-up and your team grows. If we're doing things a different way and we're not successful, I'm going to look for that playbook in the package and say, where's the playbook that you got? Because it's not my playbook. Right? We can't scale 1,000, 15,000, 100,000 different playbooks. It's not possible. We have a system. It works. It works. I want to talk about why it works and why it's important that we all get on board with it, right? But mentor. How many of us have a mentor in our lives? Find one if you don't have one. Real mentors are looking to mentor. Right? But what are you going to bring to the table? If you want a mentor, what are you going to bring to the table? Are you going to bring this? Because if you don't have this, you're not going to get a mentor. If you know everything, you're like, I know everything. I need a mentor. Be like, all right, see you. How do you get that? Positive attitude. Why? Why do you want a mentor? All these things are connected. You can't escape. It's the matrix, right? It's all real. And finding your why. We all are individuals. We all have our own why. And everyone's why is as valid as everyone else's why. Your why is as valid as my why. And Voxx's why. So we have to find a way to realize our whys together. And this is why when we organize this business, the why, the how, and the what, it manifests here, because we can find our why and collectively move toward it. So where are we on our why? So this thing can be chunked down to 4 big things in our why. Okay? It's so important, because every single one of these is as important as the other one. There's 4 big steps here. Survival. I just worried about, I got to get to the next step. I got to put $500 in my pocket. Survival mode. I don't know about saving the world yet, Jay. I don't know about anything else. I got to make some money. I got school trips I got to take care of. I got to buy shoes. I got to buy this, that. I got baseball practice. I got whatever that is, whatever that why is, that's survival mode. Because this is a fact, guys. 2/3 of North Americans, 2/3 of North Americans don't have an emergency fund of $500. Who are these magical 2/3? They're us. They're us. They're our families, they're our friends, they're our neighbors, they're our teammates. They're us. 2/3. 66% are in that situation. So this survival mode is so critical. This is why that compensation part is so important. We cannot be afraid of talking about compensation and the need to grow our team so people can get out of survival mode. So we have a program. We have a vehicle to help ourselves and people we care on our team and our teammates to get out of survival mode. But you have to recognize it where it is. So when somebody's in survival mode, they're not hearing anything else. They're not hearing about tomorrow. Let me tell you this right now. I've been there. I've been there. I've been there. I moved out at age 17. I've been on my own since I was 17 years old. And I know what that is. When you wake up and you're 17, you got no place to stay, you got no job, you got no money, you're in survival mode. And you're like, how am I going to get to tomorrow? And day after, 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 and day after. So you're not thinking about anything else other than survival mode. And that is as powerful, as valid, as strong a why as anyone needs. So we have a program. It's called Voxx Life. We have a program called Sock and Soul Parties. The average Sock and Soul get-together, average Sock and Soul party here generates $500 to $600 worth of profit to the person doing it. You can help 66% of the people that are in survival mode with this opportunity in this business by giving them hope, by giving them an opportunity. Say, listen, you have something that the world needs. We love doing it. We're going to get good at doing it and get compensated for it. This works. You just saw how easy this was. Get on board. Do this. But unless we share that with them, because most people got these thoughts running in their head, those fictional thoughts about this is not going to work, all these different things. So you have a responsibility to share this product and this opportunity with them. Financial stress is one of the largest causes of health condition in this country. When you got financial stress, it impacts everything. Any doubts on that? Financial stress is a precursor to bad health. For the first time in the history of recorded history in mankind, of humankind, the wealthy are thin and the poor are not. Think about that. If you look back on old pictures from Renaissance days, all the kings and royalty and the nobility, big chunky dudes, big chunky cats. Thick. Why? Because girth was a sign of opulence. You had more money, you could buy more food. You could buy larger clothes, you could buy nicery and finery. Today, to eat healthy, go to Whole Foods. You better take your whole check. It's gone the other way. Eating healthy is expensive. But if we can give people financial resources to take care of themselves, to nurture them, to get to a practitioner, to get help to maintain their wellness, that's going to come from financial success. And it doesn't be a lot. It could just be a little. So once you're in survival mode, we got to get out of survival. So we have something to get out of survival. But once you're out, you get to the next level, which is status. What's status? Status is, you know what? I want some nice things. I've been working my tail off. I want to get a nice new car. You can do that. I want to go on a vacation. I want to live in a nicer neighborhood. I want to buy a new watch. I want to buy nice things for my spouse. I want to go on vacation. I want to celebrate my 20th anniversary. What are those things? Status, where you're going to express your success in a way that's for you. This is so important. This is not a bad thing. Don't let anybody tell you that having nice things and getting nice things is a bad thing. It's a big part of our why. We have to evolve. We have to grow. It's valid. You have to get there. You have to enjoy it. You have to be grateful for it. All right? Got to be grateful for it. Like, let's not get carried away. Gratitude is the first thing. You got to be grateful. When you get a survival mode, thank God. Thank you. I'm in survival mode. I'm in status. I got a new watch. Thank you. I moved to a nice neighborhood. Thank you. My kids got to a nicer school. Thank you. Gratitude. But this is valid. And once you're there, you're going to be like, what else is there? Next step is freedom. It's the next level of the why, and how it manifests is going to be your way. But freedom is, I remember those survival days. I never want to go back. Ever. More importantly, I don't want my kids to ever see that. Right? If you've been in survival mode, you never want your children in survival mode. Because you know what it's about. The fear that's there, the stress that's there, the not knowing. So we have a program. You can get to status with us. You get a survival mode, scale what you did to get a survival mode, you're going to have status. Right? So in freedom, so status is taking what you've done with the Soccer Soul Party and scaling it across and doing more than one, and then teaching your team how to do it. All of a sudden, you're going to get right out of survival mode into status, and you're going to be there. And then freedom is building something that's going to last for a long time, that you can leave for your children and not worry about it. That it's self-sustaining and you love what you do and you've gotten great at it and people are just inspired by you. We have that program. You can build that with our program. You can build that with this company. You can build that with these technologies. You can build this with this team. You can build that. It's happened now. It's happening as we speak. We have people in this room that are at freedom mode right now. And they've done it in 2 years. Not bad. 2 years. They're thinking about freedom. Like, you know what? I don't do this again. I've done it. I'm going to work. I put my time in, and I'm done. And what that level of freedom is yours to decide, not mine. You have to decide where you get to that and where you're going to be okay with that. And then when you're there and you've taken care of that, then you're going to get the purpose. Okay? Then it's purpose. Then it's save the world. I'm going to change the world. We're going to help. That's where purpose comes in. But if 66% of the people we know in this country, in this continent, are at survival mode, let's not get too big for our britches and start talking about purpose. We have to find alignment with where they are and their why. We have to help them find their why. Right? And if they're status, great. Let's get this, because it's important to them. It's important to me. I've been there. Got out of survival mode, got to status, bought a lot of nice things. Bought a lot of nice things. Got to freedom. Oh, this is great. Wasn't happy. I'm talking about me now. Wasn't happy. A lot of things were missing in my life. Number one thing that was missing in my life all the way through it was gratitude. I wasn't grateful for all the amazing things that happened in my life. I was 29 years old in the dot-com era. I got into a hot startup in 2007. My cousin Sneal ran a venture capital company called Battery Venture. And he called me up one day, true story. He goes, how much money do you have? I go, that's a loaded question. He goes, go find $100,000 US. So imagine this. I've bought a house 3 years before that. I got one kid. I got one on the way. I'm all in with what I'm doing with the house. I'm like, man, I know this guy. He's smart. Harvard grad, MIT grad, runs a big, this guy's a role model. Okay, went out, scrounged together, found $100,000. This company was called Commerce One, based out of Texas. Commerce One, when it opened the stock market, my 85-cent share was $12.50, under 2 years. It quickly shot up to $600 a share. So, the worst possible thing for a 29-year-old happened. The universe gave him $60 million. That's about the worst thing you can do to a 29-year-old. And you know what I didn't have? Gratitude. Because I thought it was me. I was so smart. It wasn't me. I had actually nothing to do with it. But now you start living a life outside of gratitude. And the universe has its way. Right back. Something called a dot bomb went off, and all these amazing stock companies that were worth all these billions of dollars were worth nothing. And I still didn't learn. Because I could find somebody else to blame. Stupid stockbroker, stupid this, stupid that, lost all my money. It's right here. But you learn, and I did, until I found gratitude. I couldn't evolve, I couldn't grow. And when I did, then all of a sudden everything became clear. Right? And this journey that I started in 2008, 10 years now, was about that, of expressing my gratitude for all the things that I have, and what would make me express that gratitude was I was going to go do something to help my mom. And it's not been easy. It's been solitary for a long time. Nobody believed me. Thought I was crazy. But you keep going, right? Because it wasn't about them. It was about me. Right? And then we get to purpose. And I want all of us in this room to get to that eventually. Wherever you are on this scale, 1 through 4, it's all valid. Every single step is important as the next step, because you can't get to the next step until you cross that. Right? So don't let anybody tell you, oh, you can't be focused on the money. Well, if that's what I need right now, I got to be focused on that. So if you need my permission, you have my permission. You're allowed. You have to. You have to get through that. You have to talk about that for ourselves internally with our families and our loved ones. Well, hey, where are we? And then, how do we get to the next level? Because this will give you so much clarity in what you have to do and how you do it. And you never compromise yourself. Why? Because how we do it is completely ethical. Right? We have amazing technology. We love what we do. We're getting great at it. And there's a compensation plan to make this sustainable so we can all realize our purpose and our whys. That's why this is so unique. What we have doesn't exist anywhere else in network marketing. I hope you guys understand it. It does not exist anywhere else. There's always snakes and ladders sometimes. You get here and then you don't. We don't do that. Let's keep going. Why? Because the lighthouse of the mission is so fantastic. So, how do you get to that? How did I get to this? How do we evolve and grow? So you got to ask yourself. So Jack Canfield thought of this many years ago. Chicken soup for the soul. What are 2 qualities I love most expressing in my life? Right? For me, I love learning. I got that from my dad. Love of learning my entire life. And I love helping people. I got that from caring for my mom. You develop this thing inside you. When you take care of somebody and you love on somebody, you change. Okay? We are designed to love. People think we're designed to be loved. No. We are designed to love. When we are loving on something, someone, we are the happiest we can be. That's how we're made. And caring for someone and giving them hope and giving them wellness just vibrates. I mean, it just changes everything in you. Right? That's where I got it. So then, what are 2 ways I love most expressing those qualities? So I love learning, I love helping people. So what did I do? I spent 6 years taking all this learning and making cool stuff that can help people. See how that all worked? But I didn't know this then. I look back on it and I learned from very smart people. I said, this is what happened. That's how this thing came to be. Is like, you know what, I expressed what I loved the most. And whatever it is that you love the most, you got to work with that. Because to do what I love the most is not you. You got to find your thing. You got to sit back and think, what do I love the most? And how do I develop that? How do I expand that? How do I grow that to live the life that can benefit me and everybody around me? So what would the world like if it were perfect right now, according to me? This is the whole development process of getting to that why. How do we evolve and grow, right? So what's the plan? So whatever that world is, that perfect for you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how actively am I living in passion? Right? For this purpose. So give it a scale. So I want this, but I think I'm right about here. So 10 is over here and I'm at a 6. 6 to 10. Those are the changes that I have to impact to reach where I got to get to. The answer is not out there, ladies and gentlemen. The answer is in here. For all of us. We all know what we love. We all know what makes us happy. That's the plan. That's the plan. Right? It's not my plan. It's your plan. You got it. And it's all aligned back to where your why is. And once you do that, once you start living that, it's unbelievable how your life will change. Trust me. Happened to this guy. I was a crusty, cynical, fast-talking Silicon Valley guy. Mean, rude, arrogant, conceited. I'm so smart. I'm so rich. I'm so dumb. I was that guy. Until you think, if I'm so great, how come I'm not happy? How come I'm not happy? I got a beautiful wife. I got beautiful kids. I got all the money in the world. I got a nice car. I got nice things. I'm not happy. Not happy because I'm not living my why. I haven't even identified it. I'm not grateful. No gratitude. And it will change. And when you recognize it, when I recognized it, it changed. And I said, no, this is what it is. And then here we are. 10 years. Here we are. Right? So if it can happen for this guy, it can happen for all of us. It does. I didn't make this happen. It's just what it is. This is how the universe works. This is what happens. So qualifying your team. So all these things we've got to apply to ourselves, and then we've got to apply to our team. Right? You must qualify your team members, especially new recruits. Okay? If you're bringing the dark Sith people into your team, you're in for a long day. So you got to be careful. So check for their positive attitude, check their coachability, and check their why. You got to know why. Why is somebody joining your team? Where are they? On 1 to 4, you got to know. Because if you don't know, you're going to get a surprise. And you're probably not going to like it. Because I can guarantee you it won't be what you think it is. Right? Coachability. When you say to somebody, hey, I need you to watch these videos, we're going to talk about them, and they don't watch those videos, how seriously do you think they're going to do anything you ask them to do? We've got to test for that. Positive attitude. First question I ask anybody that comes in for a job interview, or even a new associate or somebody that wants to come meet me at the office. Hey, was it easy to find? Was it a good trip in? They start going, oh, the traffic was terrible and I couldn't find it. And then I go, oh, big X, negative. Simple test. Right? Default setting is negative. I'm not a therapist. I can't undo what their parents did. They got to work on them. I got all these other people that I got to work with and help and grow. Right? And you got to be the same way. You got to be that single-minded about it, observing that. Right? And then you got to ask them, hey, are you good? Great, you want to do this and this all check marks? Because you can have all three, positive, coachable, and need a why, and they got a good why. Now you got to ask them, hey, are you going to do this sometime? Stop. If they say, yeah, maybe, sometime, they're not ready. Tell them, hey, listen, you're not ready yet. They're not ready, but you got to tell them that. Part-time? Great. Quantify it. How many hours, how many days are you going to put into this? Full-time? All right, let's go. This is a commitment to their why. But if you are bringing people onto your team and you don't know these things, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. Right? This is just experience. This is just experience. That's all I'm sharing with you. If these things are missing, this is why you have somebody that has a small team, super successful, and somebody that has a team that's 10 times bigger, wallowing in mediocrity. Why? This is an old saying. I'd rather run with 100 than drag 1,000. Couldn't be truer thing. Right? You build this great big boat, you got this great big organization, you think everybody's rowing, but a little Billy in the back drilling holes in the bottom of your boat. That's negative people. That's negative energy. That's people that don't have positive attitude, aren't coachable, need a why, don't know what it is. Sometimes they're rowing, sometimes they're drilling. You don't know. And before long, you're not rowing or guiding the ship, you're bailing the water out of the boat. Because so-and-so talked to so-and-so and they're upset and this person talked to so-and-so. Hey, that happen? Happens a lot. You know how I know? Because I get the emails and the phone calls. Right? We got to avoid that. Because how do you avoid it? This. You got to do this check mark on them, right? So that's about building your Voxx life and living a Voxx life. So that's what I'll leave you guys with today. It's that we have to start with us and pushing it forward. No more, no less. Right? So there's a video here that I want to show. So this is this video I'm going to show you. And after that, I'm going to bring up Dr. Joe Baldino. He's on our advisory board. He's a chiropractic neurologist. So he's going to talk about his interpretation of this video. This video is by Dr. Robert Thatcher. He's one of the foremost QEEG, EEG interpretation experts in the world. He's in Clearwater, Florida, not too far from here. He's won 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards in neuroscience. He's written 8 books, published 200 papers.
This is a video of the difference between current density between the EEG in the brain and the sources of the EEG, between the condition of resting and as a baseline versus placing socks on the same subjects and then recording the EEG after the socks have been on, and then comparing the difference between the EEG with the socks off versus the EEG with the socks on. In this case, it's an eyes open condition. It represents a cross-validation of the eyes closed condition. So there's completely independent measures. And this is a paired t-test from 60 subjects. Degrees of freedom are 58. I set the t here at 3.5, and the probability of setting for the t-test at that level and those degrees of freedom is p less than 0.001. The red here are the voxels in the brain. The values of the t-values are shown in the bottom box on the right. And you can see the differences between socks on and socks off. At 1 cycle per second, I'm going to now go to 2 cycles per second. You can see that it's a bilateral significant difference, including the midline regions of the projections, basically of the feet to the medial banks of the motor cortex. But there's also posterior temporal and particularly on the left side, but it's on both sides. And you can see the difference of the significant differences here. I can look at just the left brain half, and you'll see this medial surface as a significant difference, as well as the right, as well as the occipital cortex. So we're going to march through the t-tests at frequencies from now 1 to 2. I'll go up to 8 hertz. Above 8 hertz, there was a more scattering of significant differences. All of the subjects showed differences at these higher frequencies as well, the lower frequencies, but the effect size was strongest between 1 and about 10 hertz. Again, this is at 3 hertz. There's 4 hertz. Again, the left hemisphere is more significant than the right. 5 hertz, 6 hertz. And this midline region here, that's the somatosensory projection of the feet to the cortex, 7 hertz, and then 8 hertz is no longer significant. So this is a quick view of a cross-validation in the eyes open condition compared to the eyes closed condition. I have socks on versus socks off. The difference in the current density being produced by the brain between those two conditions. That is the same subjects, 60 subjects, paired t-test. It's a baseline versus putting the socks on. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so Joe coming up. So, very technical. So this is why I love Dr. Joe Baldino. He can translate for us what that means in everyday English. Dr. Joe?
Yeah, brother.
So I attended a neuroconference symposium here in Orlando 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And 300 eminent scholars, like just brilliant people. And this is one of the 3 smartest people in the room. No, I'm not just saying this. Joe has an ability to take complex concepts, what you just saw, and make sense for us lay people of what it means for people's wellness and their health and how we can help people. So I'm just going to share a couple of things, and I'm going to turn it over to Joe. So when Dr. Thatcher is talking about a 0.001 p-value, most research is based on 0.05 with 95% confidence. This is almost 100% confidence. Yeah. The statistical significance of this is irrefutable. And that red is instant dynamic change in neurofunction in the neurology happening in under 10 seconds. Yeah. That's kind of like fireworks instantly, right? So I'm going to turn it over to Joe because Joe's way smarter than me on this. But he can talk about what those different regions mean as we understand them in terms of how they're going to help people's wellness. And so what's going to happen, there's going to be 2 videos that are going to come out. We're going to take this video. I'm going to have Joe speak to that video in a little section about what this means, and we'll have call-outs on it. We'll have all those videos available for everybody else. And then on a neurofeedback standpoint, I'm going to get Dr. Mark to take the same information and apply that interpretation to it. So depending on who we need to address this to, we have the right content and the right context. And Dr. Thatcher is writing a paper for us that we'll get next week that summarizes his observations and his conclusions on that, right? So, but this is, people say, oh, it's not statistically significant. It's beyond statistically significant. It's 100%, the p-values are crazy. Which from a statistical standpoint, when you stick in numbers all day like I am, I knew this stuff was amazing, but my goodness, this is incredible. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Joe Baldino. Dr. Joe, over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So, thank you for that. I hope I live up to whatever he just said. So, because I was in survival mode, I didn't even hear anything he said. So when I saw that video, and the first time I saw it was last night, I was blown away to the point I was speechless. And I have 2 slides coming up that literally I could speak for days on regarding what that video or the interpretation of what that video means. So I'm not going to teach you neuroanatomy or anything like that right now, but what I do in clinic, and I treat a lot of patients, usually with very chronic or degenerative types of conditions. And a lot of the secret to influencing somebody is how you can use a modality, a sensory input, light, sound, smell, taste, touch, whatever. It literally can change the brain in milliseconds, okay? And these are some of the pathways, but more importantly, this is kind of what these socks offer humankind, is these areas, let's see. So these little circuits, I don't know how well you could read the small print down here, but essentially these 3 circuits, now these cells in here represent something called the basal ganglia. You may have heard of it with Parkinsonian conditions, movement disorders, things like that. But really, it's kind of the seat of what controls and governs and regulates, like a toll booth, all the different regions of the brain and how they interplay together, okay? So these different circuits, like this one right here, literally this little strip about a centimeter wide sits on the medial, middle of the hemisphere, represents essentially all the motor areas of half of your body, okay? And I have a map of that I'll show next. The area right in front of it, this is the area that we use for cognition, associate stuff, your personality, your IQ, your planning, your judgment or lack of. Those all kind of sit right in this area. This is more or less the psychology of who you are, all right? This is your mind. And then if you were to cut the brain midline, like down the center, and look at half of it, kind of like how Dr. Thatcher's model rotated to the inside half, you'll see this area. Now, this is the brainstem that continues on into the spinal cord. Essentially, the spinal cord is just a bridge of information that takes stuff in and puts stuff out, really. And then a lot of it gets regulated back down into this brainstem, the cerebellum. These two areas here, this is the limbic circuit or the emotional circuit. But when I refer to emotions, I'm not necessarily thinking happy, sad, mad, guilty, surprised, like what you label an emotion as. I'm really just almost like your survival instincts. It's a sensation you get, right? Like when I walk in to meet somebody for the first time, right? Before I even process, even see them really, like visually, because there's a delay in all that, this area of my limbic system is starting to make a judgment call based on my inputs from the amygdala, my upbringing, all my past things that I do and don't remember, kind of makes that judgment call within probably close to under 70 milliseconds, okay? And then what happens is this area, the seat of human emotion, literally fires to this, because they use these same circuits. They're literally the same exact cellular network. They're millimeters apart. They talk, right? So this area starts to gauge, is that sensation that I'm getting, what to make of it, kind of to tag it with a degree of emotionality. And then it'll start to engage the motor system. So if I approach somebody and something in my body tells me, it's almost like asking the question, are you gonna promote my survival or not, okay? So then it'll give me the appropriate stuff to move my body either toward or away from that situation. Does that make sense so far? So these interplay all the time. That video with Dr. Thatcher, what happens is it starts to stimulate all these circuits at once. So then you get this far-reaching global aspect that actually influences the activity of neurons in the cortex. Now, health or aging or degeneration or all these disorders like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, a lot of it rests on the ability for different parts of that cortex to come to threshold and work properly. So if they're not working so well, all of a sudden you may see a movement that you didn't intend on doing, or you start walking into rooms and you forgot why, or you pick up your phone and you forget who you were going to call, things like that, and then it can just progress from there. But what happens with the technology stimulating these areas, it literally fires those cells, and those cells, your brain won't dedicate calories to maintain stuff it's not using, right? Almost like you put your arm in a cast and it atrophies, right? The muscles get eaten away essentially because you're not using it, so your body's like, well, I don't need it. And it starts to use that as a fuel resource, honestly. And then once you start moving it again, the area of the brain that controls that limb starts to plump back up and things kind of get working again. That's the importance of like follow-up care after an injury or surgery or things like that. I forgot what the point was, but but really it's a use it or lose it type of phenomenon, okay? And the brain's ability, the more you activate those cells, the healthier they become, the longer they last. And then you get what's called long-term potentiation, which then you don't need the stim as much to excite those cells. It's almost like learning, right? I could read and read and read and read. Eventually, I don't need the stimulus of the book to remember what I'm trying to learn. Does that make sense? Almost like a motor task. You do things over and over and over again. You don't really have to practice it, right? So with that, I think with this stuff, the motor equals cognition equals emotion, it's literally, they're all the same thing. You can't really dissect them. That's why if you have the ability to stimulate parts of the brain centrally, right, it has all these far-reaching capabilities. So you literally can influence, and I'm not going to say treat a condition with them, but you will be able to influence the health of the cells that control people's mental health, that controls people's thoughts, and that controls movement and stability and balance and things like that, okay? So in practice, I use a lot of this stuff. So this little guy, this is like a representation. They call it the homunculus. In Latin, it's just an old term, means little man. And what it depicts is almost by size importance, the real estate that your body represents to the brain. And it's really interesting that like in my clinic, a lot of treatment protocols involve the face and the hands. No matter what the condition is, we figure out a way to use those because they have so much influence in the brain. And we see these drastic changes, okay? Never have I seen as drastic a change as that video you just saw. Okay, as far-reaching as that was, right? I can isolate parts of the brain based on, playing songs in somebody's ear or shining a light or having them taste something, right? And I can influence the brain that way. But with the socks, it just enhances everything else, which then again leads to more brain health. The faster your brain declines, the worse your condition usually becomes, or the quicker you age, or the more you suffer. Does that make sense so far? So keeping these cells healthy, like a use it or lose it type of thing, literally like preserves your life, and it decreases suffering quite substantially, okay? This area right here, I mean, on that brain map, there were a lot of areas that lit up, but this area right here represents the spine. It's only about like my whole torso, right? What you see here is so disproportionate to what's represented in the brain. Okay, like my face and my hands are relatively small to my whole entire body, yet in the brain, my whole torso takes up less room than my whole thumb, So the area of the thumb, literally, this is what got us out of the food chain in a real way, right? There's nothing else on earth that has this capability, okay, other than humankind. So with that, the thumb region becomes a great deal of importance to me when I work on people. I mean, there are people that just come in and we play thumb wars and their migraines go away. I mean, that's just a little example, but there's so many different conditions you can influence just by activating the right kind of parts of the brain. With the socks, it's incredible to see, and I still have a lot, I could talk for days on that video, but how far-reaching that is just to increase the integrity of those areas of the cortex that kind of governs humankind. So I think that's it for now. I know I got a time limit, and I don't want to run into lunch, and Dr. Mark is going to, they're giving me the red light, so, because I'll just keep running on and on. So with this, though, in general, the technology has the ability to rapidly and almost instantaneously, I mean, within seconds, you see the change in the cortical areas. And then that spills over into all these other different aspects of humankind, okay? Good? All right, thank you.
You're not done yet.
Yeah.
So you guys have to appreciate, so Joe got in yesterday, and when I landed, my flight was a little bit late, and I said, you gotta get to the hotel right away. Because Dr. Thatcher actually sent me that video yesterday. And I watched it on the plane a couple of dozen times, and I made my notes. Sometimes you see things, and it's like somebody, it's like a UFO landed in, like, that's a UFO. That's what this video is for me, at least what I perceive it to be. So Joe, you gotta watch this video. I called him up to my suite last night, and I go, I didn't see anything. I go, just watch this, and I want to get your thoughts. He watched it. He rewinded it. He watched it again. He rewinded it. Watched it again. He goes, send it to me. I got to watch it some more.
Till 3 in the morning.
Till 3 in the morning. And so let me give you background. So Joe has a very neurointegrative practice in Chicago. He gets, like Dr. Mark, who's going to come next, at the end of the road cases when nothing else has worked. Then they find Dr. Joe and say, hey, I heard you went to Hogwarts and you know magic. Voodoo or something, right? And then he does his thing. And he integrates the socks into his practice and how they see changes. But what this video, and when we extrapolate it, and there'll be lots of videos based, because like he said, we could make a dozen videos out of this one video, take one section and say, this is what this means, this is what this means. So we're going to do that over the next little bit of time. But know that you have thought leaders in this field working on your behalf to make the communication easier, better, faster for all of us, right? So I can't thank you enough, Joe.
Oh, no. My pleasure. Same mission.
Thank you, brother. Okay, this way, this way. All right. So the next gentleman doesn't need a big introduction. I'm so blessed. I mean, you have no idea how blessed I am. I got Dr. Joe, I got Dr. N, and this next guy, he's really become like, you know, God gave me a brother, his name is Manny, now I got another brother, his name is Mark, and I got another brother, his name is Joe. And I got another brother named is Terry, and Paul, and Stan, and Mari, and sister's name Ann, and Kathy, and Angela, and so many of you. But Dr. Mark, he and I just developed this bond over the last year and a half. And you meet somebody that just goes, I get it, tell me what I got to do to get it done. So this guy, I don't even have the words. I'm so grateful for him and his commitment to this mission and what he sacrifices from his family. So this summer, he was on the road. So there's 12 weeks in the summer. He was on the road 9 weeks for all of us. I take it personally. He was on the road for me, away from his family, sleeping in sometimes not so nice hotels, right? Yesterday, he was in Atlanta working with one of the preeminent doctors in Atlanta. He was brain mapping and working with their team and their patients for over 10 hours straight. And then went to the airport, drove to the airport, you can imagine Atlanta, and then flew here, got here last night a little after 11. We chatted for another couple of hours, and he's back up this morning again. I can't, his energy level and his commitment, I thank you. All of us thank you. Let's hear it for Dr. Mark DeBrincat. My brother.
Thank you, brother.
Love you, brother.
Me too. All right, so great to be here in Orlando. I'd like to thank Stan again for putting on such an awesome event in such a great hotel. I was here so late last night that I didn't really even check out the grounds, and when I woke up this morning and looked out the window, I was like, oh, we have a golf course and pools. How beautiful is that? So, all right, so, you know, I was just as amazed at that last video when I saw that, and of course, just being able to work with somebody like Dr. Thatcher has just been a dream come true. When he first called me and asked about this Voxx technology, I said, excuse me, is this as in Robert Thatcher? And he chuckled and says yes. And I'm like, well, before you ask me anything, congratulations on those 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards, because I've been studying the neurology of the brain for a long time, and he's been scattered through all of the textbooks and through all of the learning that we've done. He's been such an instrumental part. So when he heard that I'm kind of disrupting this whole field of neurology, you know, with these new findings, and he had to just see it for himself. So Jay and I went and visited him, and we mapped somebody in his office, and he says, listen, I know that you're really excited about this, but, you know, my software is a lot more sophisticated than yours, so I really don't think we're going to see the results that you see. And so he says, okay, why don't you just do it anyway? And so he did it, and oh my goodness, he stood up, he looked down and looked at us, he's like, I can't believe it. It was like 58% change in this girl's brain, and he had never seen anything like that. So needless to say, he's super excited to be on board and working with us. And We're so excited to have such great thought leaders that keep attracting to us, that see our mission, that feel it, that love what we do, and that want to be part of it. And you know, in all of this whole year, I've been traveling and meeting so many amazing thought leaders at all these huge conferences. And we sit in our suite and I map them and I show them like the befores and afters, and it leads into, 6-7 hour conversations sometimes. And not once do they ever ask about the money. I lay in bed thinking about that. Like, you know what? We just talked for 7 hours on how this technology is going to impact and change the human race, humankind, and change the planet, and give so many people an opportunity to have hope again and to be better. And it's right here. It's so amazing that we can be part of this at this time in our lives. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go back right to the core and the root of what this really does in the human body. In order to do that, I need to take you on a journey and explain to you how wonderfully and fearfully your body is actually made. And so with that, I want to first give a little bit of my own testimony for those of you that haven't heard that. Now, this isn't working. There we go. All right, so my wife and I were in this car accident. We were in a head-on collision on our way down here to Florida about 21 years ago. And there should be one more picture there. There we go. She broke her neck, had to have it replaced with a cadaverous shin bone. She was driving. But by the grace of God, she's amazing and she's doing perfectly fine. 95% of the people with her injuries are killed immediately and the rest are usually paralyzed. I was sleeping. I wake up in the car to us spinning out of control in the rain into oncoming traffic. I braced my legs on the dashboard and literally snapped my pelvis in half, broke my sacrum in half, ripped the muscles off both my legs, lost a third of my intestines, and had a whole bunch of other injuries. Needless to say, it was a long recovery. I'm a chiropractor by trade, and so I obviously couldn't practice for quite a while. 7 back surgeries. They finally put a computer in my spine just so I wouldn't feel the pain anymore, and then let me just stay confined to a chair for the rest of my life. I had a very supportive family, and they kept saying, don't give up. You're going to get through this. You're going to find that breakthrough. You're going to find something. And that's what I would hold on to. And sure enough, I found a breakthrough. And then there was another one. Then it wasn't a matter of if I was going to get better. It's when's that next breakthrough coming? And so the neurostimulation unit they implanted into my spine right here, that was just so I wouldn't feel anything from here down. So I get neurostimulation. I have like the Lamborghini of all of them. But in order for me to finally get better and get out of my wheelchair after so many years of having to be taken care of, I had to go back to the basics. And what I mean by that is I had to go back to how are we built, what are we made up of, and how do we regenerate ourselves. And so if we're going to ever get better from any physical problem, especially, we have to let the next version of ourselves be a little bit better and cleaner than the last version. Okay? And that's how we're going to get through this. So I'm going to take you on a little journey of our bodies and how that looks. And this is going to help you understand more than ever what this technology is doing for people. And it's not about the symptoms. I know everybody's so concerned about the symptoms. Does this help MS? Does this help Parkinson's? Does this help headaches? Does this help shingles? That's all the questions we get is, does it help a condition? It's not about the condition, okay? It's about how you're experiencing life through your nervous system, okay? So let's go a little bit deeper on that. You guys ready to get your brain stimulated? Everybody? All right. All right, so we're going to get to the smallest beginning of where it all starts, and that's with atoms. We have over 100 trillion atoms that make up a molecule. We have between 5 million and 2 trillion molecules that make up a cell. Okay? So it all starts with the atoms into the molecules and creating a cell. We have over 100 trillion cells in our body. Okay? Think of it like you have 100 trillion children. We take better care of our children than we do ourselves. Okay? Your cells have to have that same attention. So, again, like Dr. Joe was saying, I could speak for 2 days just on this slide alone, talking about what the function in the life of a cell looks like. But let's just talk about a couple things. First of all these little hairs on the outside of that cell, these are like little antennas. Now, your nervous system is control of everything, and these little hairs are directly communicating to the DNA in the cell. So this little, I'm not sure if this is a laser. I don't think so. The little purple circle in there, that's your DNA. Your DNA has the actual code to what your perfect cell should look like. Unfortunately, it also has a bunch of toxins and things that you've been exposed to and junk that has carried us along, and it's making it into the next cell and into the next cell, and we don't really need that stuff. So your body's got this default mechanism to take that DNA and literally make 3 billion copies of it, filter through my 3 billion copies to find the cleanest one and say, this is the one that makes it into the new cell. We haven't seen one this clean in decades. How great is that? Okay? So the process of us repairing and replacing the cells happens very quickly. Now, those little hairs on the outside, they're antennas. And all they care about is what's the environment outside my cell? Is it healthy and safe and happy? Do I look outside, it's beautiful weather? Or am I looking outside and it's storming and there's lightning about to hit the glass and I'm afraid for my life? Okay? Why do I say look outside? What happens outside the cell? We used to believe that in order to prevent the bad things from happening in that DNA, like genetic issues, like what causes one person to express the genes and the other person doesn't, we used to say it was lifestyle. I was raised believing it was lifestyle. You got to eat clean, avoid toxins, exercise, drink lots of water, do all these things to make my cells healthy so that I'd never give it a reason for the bad stuff to activate. Well, in this last decade, researchers have found out there's another factor at play here that holds more than 50% of the weight if you're ever going to express that gene or not. 50%. More than lifestyle, right? It's your emotions. Your emotions are more powerful than all your lifestyle choices. You can change that environment outside the cell in an instant and immediately turn it into a very negative environment where I have to activate all my warriors in the DNA to come fight this battle because it's not good outside. So you have to guard and protect your emotions at all costs. A thought is a thought, like Jay was saying, doesn't hold a lot of weight until you internalize it and it becomes an emotion. So my parents used to always tell me, don't let anybody get your goat. I didn't really know what that meant, but it was like, don't let them steal your joy. Don't let them take it. It's just not worth it. And so whenever I find myself getting upset about things, I'll say, you know what? I'll just agree that I don't have all the information in this situation, and so I'm not going to let myself come to any conclusions until I get more information. That helps a lot of us from doing that. Now, how does this all tie back into Voxx with this environment and my moods and my emotions? Well, when we're doing all this brain mapping, we're seeing amazing things happen from people's stress and anxiety and depression and ADD and all of these things that we're seeing express themselves in the brain, and we're seeing it just flip as soon as I put the tech on. We're seeing our nervous system reboot, come online, and immediately we have better control of our emotions. And so you don't have to wonder if this technology is going to help the person you're sharing it with. You know it is. Because we know, even with Dr. Thatcher, that's 99.999% change in every single case. To have more than a 95% change is unheard of. And we're right at 100%. So our cells then all get their calling to become a certain type of cell. It's just kind of a blank cell until it says, you're supposed to be a heart muscle. That cell will convert to a heart muscle just like that, never compete to try to be any other type of cell for the remainder of its lifespan. Okay? Now, why is that important? Because each cell has a turnover rate. This is a really profound thought that most people never even think about. We just think, oh, I eat and I go to the bathroom and I'm surviving, and I sleep and I wake up, and people have no appreciation for how amazing the human body is. Did you know that your eyeballs replace themselves every 2 days? Every cell in your eyeball has a new one. Every 2 days, fastest turning over organ. All right, your gums only take 2 weeks to replace themselves. So what you're doing today is going to impact the health of your gums in 2 weeks. How you're treating your body, how you're treating your nervous system, how well it's communicating. Your throat only takes 2 months. The lining inside your lungs that help absorb all the oxygen, 8 days you have a brand new lining. Wonderfully and fearfully made. Your heart takes 6 months. All your blood vessels take 6 months to reproduce. Your bones, they take the longest. They take 11 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. So every year there's a whole new you. They used to believe it was 7 years. Now we know it's only a year. And parts of your body replace themselves multiple times that year. So there's your hope. If I change the way I'm treating my body and I'm doing all the things to optimize my body now, my next version of those cells are going to be a little bit younger, cleaner, and healthier. Heck, I'm living proof. I'm never supposed to walk again. I've remodeled all the arthritis in my spine, the stenosis, the herniations, the scar tissue, everything has all been remodeled. But it took me years to kind of start focusing on that, and once I grabbed that concept, and then everything that I did related to make sure that my cells are going to be healthier than the last. And the breakthroughs started happening over and over and over again. So all your cells in your body, once they get their calling, become a certain tissue. The tissue then becomes an organ. Our organs then turn into systems. Out of all the systems that run the body, which one's the most important? Nervous system. Hands down. It guides, dictates, and directs the function of every one of your 100 trillion cells. Period. You experience life through your nervous system. Everything else happens after that. Okay? And so the nervous system then, we got a little video, becomes the body, the organism. Okay? That's the net result of all those cells organizing through all the information in the nervous system to optimize and become you. Okay? Now, after you comes the symptom, right? And all we care about is this little symptom, like a light. How come the light's on? Okay, the light's off. Oh, the light's on. Why? Okay? Focus on the healing of what's going on inside and do all the right things and trust that that innate intelligence that's literally creating 65 quadrillion chemical reactions every second in the dark. That kind of makes it more impressive, right? When it's in the dark. I can't do a lot of things in the dark. That intelligence is way more intelligent than our conscious mind. Our conscious mind, the gray matter, it does about 2,000 pieces of data a second. Our white matter underneath that runs and dictates all of this, 400 million transactions a second. Okay, so it holds so much more weight. So it's not about the symptom, it's about optimization of our nervous system. Most people's nervous systems look like this picture on the left. It's just chaos. There's so much junk. Okay? It's not very organized, it's just chaos. And we live our life in chaos, and we just say, you know what, I just go for the green one. I just go for the red one. It's all good. It doesn't matter. That doesn't bother me. It should bother you. Because when it's like this, you're organized, you're optimized. Our nervous system needs to be optimized. Okay? When the nervous system's optimized, your little healer inside does all the work. Okay? Your body always does the healing. We talk about being compliant with Voxx. Voxx doesn't heal you. Voxx doesn't heal your MS. Voxx doesn't heal your Parkinson's. Voxx is optimizing your nervous system, and your nervous system is making a better version of you, a healthier version of you, a more stable, more balanced version of you. It's all about that optimization. We communicate through our tech. The tech goes straight to the brainstem, opens the brainstem up, and beyond that, it's a little different for everybody. So I'm not sure if we can play this little video. I don't have a play button, I don't think. Well, I got that button. All right, at any rate, this just shows a visualization of the nerves starting at the feet, impulsing all the way to the brain, and then helping the body. Oh, I saw a mouse pop up there. There we go. And so as we stimulate that, those impulses are traveling through multiple different nerves, jumping that signal. Think of it like a harmony, like it's a chord. If an ant crawled across your foot, that nerve that the ant was on literally sends a signal, and it jumps to 7 different nerves before it hits your brainstem. I like to think of this tech like a chord where it just sings and it goes straight through the brainstem. Okay? Or a Control-Alt-Delete in your computer. Things get hung up, the brainstem's regulating and controlling all of that. It clears the brainstem and gives you superpowers. That's right. We see so many movies by Marvel and everything with all these people having some sort of accident or trauma or putting on some kind of outfit that gives them all these crazy abilities. That's what I feel like when I put them on people. I mean, it's like, you want to be a superhero? Let me show you how these socks work. And then they become so strong and we got their attention. So we literally have the ability to impact each and every person and give them abilities that they didn't even know they had inside. We're not giving them anything from the outside. We're optimizing their inside so that they function better. All right, so let's go through a quick little analogy. You were rummaging around in your basement this last week, and all of a sudden you found a trap door that never was there before, that you never saw before. And you open up the trap door and there's 2 big sacks of cash, right? It's home improvement time. We're like, yay, we can do a whole bunch of things. Now, if that scenario happened for everybody in your neighborhood, everybody would have some different uses for that. Some people might put in a new kitchen, okay? Some people might throw in a pool in their backyard with that money. Some people might put on a new deck. Everybody's got a different need in your own body. So I like to think about this. When we optimize our nervous system, we know empirically that we have about 34% more efficient neurology, okay? So you got 34% extra oomph to do whatever your body needs. And each and every one of you in this room has a different need, okay? So sometimes people put the socks on like, oh my gosh, my elbow pain just went away. That's amazing, all right? After the elbow is healed, because your body healed it, your body's gonna use that extra 30% to do the next job, and then the next job, okay? Think of also, you could use the analogy of, like in your computer, we have these things called ad blockers, right? And when the ad blocker's on, I'm not getting spam with a bunch of information that I don't need, okay? That's nonsense information. When I turn ad blocker off, all the garbage starts coming in again and all the input that I don't want and unnecessary information. When I put my socks on, ad blocker in my brain just went on. It's optimized, it's efficient, it took all the static out. It's able to communicate to all the different regions and parts of our body like it's never had before. So people say, well, once I'm healed, am I healed? Is it permanent? I don't have to wear the socks anymore? It's like, no. It's like, if you turn the ad blocker off, everything comes back in, okay? And so when you're seeing how just keeping the contact on my body with this technology changes your brain, it took me 2 seconds once I brain mapped myself and did this to think, I'm never taking these socks off my feet. Or I'm always having this tech on my body. Are you kidding me? I worked so hard to try to optimize that, and it just did hours and hours of work in seconds. I mean, in seconds. We would have people come in and do neurofeedback and neuroplasticity training, and they would train for 10 hours over a couple months, and we'd see 10 to 25% change and be elated. Be so excited about, we got 10% more neurology going on now. This is awesome. We're getting better. Everybody's so excited about these results. We put the socks on and see a 48% change with no training? That's unheard of in this industry, and that's why it's getting so much attention by the healthcare practitioners, and we're bringing in such amazing health leaders that are so influential because they see what it's doing and they put 2 and 2 together. This is the greatest medical breakthrough in over a decade, or in over 100 years. In our lifetime, this is one of the greatest things we've ever come across and ever seen. So everybody has a different need. Some people might need exercise. Some people might have a cold. Some people might need balance and stability, or pain or discomfort, or emotions in all shapes and ways, right? We use this technology for what we need, okay? Our body's no different. This technology helps our molecules organize and turn into better quality cells. The cells then turn into stronger, healthier, more viable tissue. The tissue creates the organs, and the organs run the systems in our body that create our organism. So this technology is making us better organisms. Okay? It's making us healthier from the inside out. Every day we wear it, we're having that day, our cells are replacing cleaner, better, healthier. Do I care about the symptoms? No, the symptom is just the light. That's at the very end. It's just the last expression of the nervous system is the symptom. It's always the last thing to come and the first thing to go. But once the symptom's gone, that doesn't mean you don't need to wear your tech. Okay? Some people just don't get the fact that this is helping our neurology heal, and we need that healing all the time, especially at night. We do so many brain maps for showing people what their day is like and what their night is like, and the majority of people are not wearing their socks at night because they just don't know. And when you see what it does to your brain at night, oh my goodness, you'll too want to do that. Here's your brain, and here's your brain on Voxx. All right, so here's what we've done. We have done actually close to 2,000 maps now, and it still blows my mind just as much as the very first map that I did. Okay? This is all objective findings, guys. This is not just, hey, this person says they felt better with the tech on. Okay? This is, no symptoms involved here. This is strictly just brain mapping. So our study, basically, we did 4 brain maps on each person that came into the study. And eyes open, eyes closed, and then we put the tech on them, waited 7 seconds, and then did eyes open, eyes closed again. Okay? And these are the maps that we sent to Dr. Thatcher, and he did his own editing of the raw data into his system, and that's what he just showed us the video and published. That was based on, he just took the first 60 patients. We've done over 300. Okay? All right, so we record 19 spots. Can you hit play on that big one there for me, please? Actually, no. There was actually, well, I'll just go ahead. We're short on time. Hit play on the bottom of this one. So we can see different regions of the brain. This particular software is looking at 6,500 voxels in the brain, which it can identify down to a 5 millimeter cube as a voxel. And so we can see neurology in different regions and organizations of the brain. This is the occipital lobe, which is visual assessment, what I'm seeing. It's also short-term memory. It's also dreaming, sleeping, and my working memory and all of that. And so once we put the tech on, you can go ahead and hit play again, please. All of that blue woke up. On other cases where they're all red, they calm down and turn green. So we're returning it back to homeostasis, and then we had a couple quick videos with the limbic system there too. But what I really want to show, let me get to this one. So this is looking at every single slice in the brain of like if you were slicing this way down, okay, an axial slice. And ideally, you just want it to be gray. The reds and the yellows are up to 5 deviations too high would be the red. And so the left is a chronic stress anxiety patient. They put the socks on, and you can see all of that red calm right down. Okay? The body did that, not the socks. The tech gave instructions to the body on how to optimize itself, and the body says, oh, thank you, there's the code. Let's calm it down. And the patient instantly feels that, in certain cases like this. And so here's the before after of just one of those images. All right, so now we have new technology. Now this is Dr. Thatcher's newer technology, which we can literally bring the brain to 12,500 voxels. So now I'm looking at all the surface area of every crevice and everything. We can go ahead and hit play on this one. And so we see 3 different planes of the video here. You see some of the white outlines here where the mouse is up top. That's a specific Brodmann area, a specific network in the brain that has very specific functions. But we're seeing here is the cortex on the outside. This is your conscious thoughts. This person had 2 brain traumas of 2 months apart from each other. And as soon as you put the tech on, all those hot spots just calmed right down. Okay? And the pain in this case went away. Then, can you hit pause here for a second on this video? So what we're seeing now as we peel the cortex away, actually, can you pause it, please? The purple dots all along there in the white matter make up the pain network in this case. Now we have dozens of networks that we can show, and then we add what's called connectivity. And that means how well does each of those purple nodes communicate to the other one, and to the other one? And it has to communicate to each of those, and they all work and talk together, and that forms the network of how we manage our pain. Those lines are supposed to be green. When they're red or yellow, it means that there's too much information being bombarded from this node to that node. And it's like trying to listen to somebody in a crowded room and everybody's talking around you. And it's like I'm getting some of it, but I'm missing some words, and it's very frustrating. To try to live like that all the time is very hard. Okay? And so as soon as we put the tech on that person, we see all the network kind of reboot itself and turn green. Now we got an anxiety network, we have an autism network, we have a addiction and reward network, we have attention networks, we have a pain network. We have dozens of these networks that dictate and control how well our neurology stays balanced and how well we can control the way we feel and our emotions and all of that. And when we have any type of trauma, whether it's physical, some of these networks get knocked offline. Okay? We've never been able to really identify this before having this technology. And so Dr. Thatcher's taken this technology and he's done over 3,000 people with the Brain Health Index and published studies on this where they use this now for military and for different sports to be able to assess the concussion and return to play and all of that stuff. And so the technology is so amazing now that we can see, you know, and we were just looking at surface stuff before, and it was like, wow, the surface is changing. Now we're like, goodness gracious, the networks are changing. This is so much more profound. This is why I don't sleep at night, because I'm thinking about all the people and the patients that have come to me, like Jay was saying. They come to us at the end of the line. They've tried everybody else. They ran out of money. They have no more time. They're running out of time. Their condition is progressing so fast, and they're desperate. And all of a sudden they find somebody that looks at the whole them and that has answers. And that we can do things as simple as a pair of socks on their feet day one, and they already have hope immediately because the stress and all of that changes. So, you know, their mind's coming back online. The systems that run their anxiety or their depression or their sleep cycles and all of this, they're getting rebooted and coming back online. They have hope. Now all the therapy that we do and all the things that we do to help our patients are being more well received. And the patients can retain the information that we're instructions and stuff that we're giving them. You know, we just assume because I say the words to my patient that they go home and they do what I said, but a lot of times they're so overwhelmed by their condition that they're not able to hear 30% of what I say, and they're just sitting there nodding and smiling. And I've heard this from several doctors that have been using this tech in their practice over this year, is like, you know what, it's like my patients can pay attention to me better on day one. And they get more excited about our care, they're getting better faster, more effectively, and it's all thanks to the Voxx. So let me see what else we have. So Voxx literally gives us the ability to pull out the Olympian in all of us, okay? I always strive to find that Olympian in each and every one of you, or each and every one of our patients, because like Jay was saying, we have to be on the same page if you really want to get better. Some people say they want to get better, but they're not willing to do any of the things that are necessary to get better. Like, I got to change my diet? Really? I could never do that. And it's like, you could do anything, especially for a short period of time. Anybody can do anything to get better. You just have to have hope. For one, you have to believe that you're going to get better, and you got to stop listening to the false facts, like Jay was saying, okay? I'll never get better. Everybody in a wheelchair like me stays in a wheelchair. My doctors, I had the best doctors. I've been everywhere in the world and spent over $1 million on medical care, and I'm still in this wheelchair, so guess what? I'm supposed to be in this wheelchair. No. If that was my attitude, if I didn't have a certified optimism attitude and I wasn't, mentally positive, the attitude is what's going to detect everything else that you have going. And if you don't have a good attitude, don't expect to get better. Okay? You can't sit around and complain and get better. Okay? You got to start changing the one thing you do have control over. And that's what you're choosing to think and what you're choosing to put in your mouth. There's nobody else in your world that cares about either of those two things. So we better care about that for ourselves, right? And be a better steward to our body. And when you find something as powerful as this technology, it begins here. Like all the doctors are saying, this is the new standard of care. Why on earth wouldn't I start with this if it's going to make everything else we do better? And for those practitioners out there that have this mindset, well, I wouldn't want to give that to my patient because then they would get better too quickly and I wouldn't make as much money off them. Shame on you, okay? you shouldn't be practicing. That's not how the laws of attraction work. Period. They fail to see the forest through the trees. Do you realize if you got somebody better and 25% of the time that everybody else gets them better, do you not think that person's going to send you 100 people? And do you not think the people that are coming in, they're coming to you because they want to get better fast, and you have the ability to add things to their program and look at the whole them and make them happy, healthy, and referring other people, okay? It's a give and take thing. We can't expect for them to give their best to us if I'm not giving them my best. And once we see stuff like this and we know what's possible, why on earth wouldn't we do that? And that's why the doctors have such a unique position and the healthcare practitioners, with a piece of product like this, because it's so profound that for the first time ever in my entire career, the MDs, the DOs, the dentists, the surgeons are all locking arms with us and saying, let's do this, man. This is awesome. And that has never happened. There's always been this chiropractor and MD and this huge chiasm between us where we don't refer, we don't help each other. Or at least that's how the persona has been for so many decades. And now, with unbelievable amounts of EMF stuff we're being exposed to, all the pollution in our food, the soil's all damaged. There's so many things going wrong that are affecting our cellular health. So we have to focus more than ever on how we can keep ourselves healthy. And when we know beyond any shadow of a doubt that if I have this technology on me, my body's got a much better chance at making a healthier cell than without it. This is the standard of care. We start with this, so every nutrient we take, all the water that we drink, all the foods that we intake are all absorbed and utilized better, okay? You're not what you eat, you're what you assimilate and absorb, okay? And so when your nervous system is offline, and not just my peripheral nervous system in my body, but we just saw all these networks in the brain. You don't even realize your networks are offline. You're just going through life because I can see and I can talk. But you're not thriving when your networks aren't online. Okay? You're not thriving when you don't have that ad blocker protecting your brain and protecting your nervous system from unnecessary noise that just shouldn't even be there. And you're certainly not thriving when you have a stinking attitude. Okay? Attitude determines human performance. Check your attitude. It's free. Positive thoughts are free. They don't cost anything. But they're like magnetic, positive or negative. There's really no gray matter in between when you come to your emotions and your thinking. It's either 100% positive or it's just flat out negative. And if you're thinking the negative thoughts, you've got to be very careful because they're going to attract another negative thought and then another one, and then you're snowballing down a hill so fast that you can't get away from it. And then you've produced all these stressful hormones that now you have to metabolize for the rest of the day. What's wrong? Nothing. Like, really, nothing's wrong. I was just upset this morning, and now I'm having to deal with the consequences of that for the rest of the day. Okay? Protect your mind. Stay positive. You attract the positive people, and you don't have to kick the negative people out of your life. They'll be repelled from you, okay? They will run. Because they don't like all this warm and fuzzy feelings. They love their negativity and complaining about the news and all the things that are wrong. That's their stand in life, and that's their angle, all right? But we don't have to expose ourselves to that. Attract yourself with like-minded people that think the way you think, that are on track to change the world and be part of something greater and bigger than all of us. And you're going to find this overwhelming bouts of joy that just fall over you all day long. My wife's like, what's the matter? I'm like, I just felt another one of these waves of joy come over me. She's like, can I stand behind you? And I'm like, sure. So Voxx Life is truly giving us the ability to thrive again. We are the light for a healthier future. Thanks. Right on time, 12 o'clock, ready for lunch.